Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of Storytime with Chris and Daniel. I'm Chris, he's Daniel. I don't know why he's dressed way better than me today, but I didn't get the memo. Next time I'm going to wear a tuxedo and he'll come in a hoodie and jeans and eventually...
Well, I'm not wearing a tuxedo. Hold on.
but I have to one up your blazer.
That's like 10 up.
Well, whatever.
If I took the blazer off, it would look pretty much like normal. Like, let's look. This is a lot more difficult.
Okay, yeah, the blazer really does it up. I don't know that.
So here, this will make you feel better.
All right.
It's just a blazer. For people who are just listening, they're probably like, man, what is he wearing right now? It's like, it's a sport coat.
It was not just he looked like a real fancy guy. Like,
well,
really.
That's just how I look. Even if I was wearing a hoodie, I would still one up you. No, I'm just kidding.
That's like 10 up.
You could wear 10 tuxedos for all I care.
Oh, I mean, if I could fit 10 on me without it looking like, for the audio only people, my arms are up like that kid in A Christmas Story when his mom puts like 8 jackets on him. But yeah, anyway, hello. Welcome back. We're glad to have you. Glad to be back. Glad to be doing another episode. What is this, 5 or 4?
I think it's 206.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
I think I have a problem.
Yeah. No, I think I think it's a 5.
Okay. Yep. Good deal. So episode 5. As you can tell by the title, we are doing a top 10 list today. We believe that this is a format that a lot of people look for, and we want to give it a shot and, try our hand at it. I think it's going to make for an interesting and fun discussion, and so we decided for our first official top 10 attempt to tackle a topic that I think we're both really comfortable with.
Oh, yeah.
Being comedy. So, this was this something you had added to our topic? I think this was one of your ideas. So is this something that you already had some stuff in mind, or like whenever we decided we were doing this, you had to like do like me and scramble and your mind completely blanked and you couldn't think of any comedies?
Well, I mean, I had the topic in mind, but that's what happened at first. Like, I didn't have any specific movies in mind when I said that. But when you first said, all right, we're doing comedies this week, I was like, okay, great. And I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
But then once I got one, it just started. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I have like honorary mentions now because it's hard to clue.
Me too.
So this is how I assumed we were doing it. But I figured you had a top 10 and I had a top 10. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we're going to like argue about why mine's the best.
Probably. Yeah. That's how I foresaw it going, at least. I knew it was confirmed when I knocked on his door and he opened and said, hey, what are you doing here? No, I thought it'd be better, for us to each have a top 10 and maybe have that occasional entry on each list where we're like, what? That's in your top 10? Or that's that low or that high or whatever, that'll kind of bring the discussion part in, because the rest of it's just a list. But
that's true. I don't know what a list bud is, but I like it.
Fair. So, do you want to kind of bounce this back and forth and go 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, or do you want to do 10 through 1, 10 through 1?
Let's do 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, 8.
Okay.
And then if we happen to each mention one that we know is later on in our list, just don't mention it until you get to it.
Yeah. I think that's best. We'll keep it a little surprise.
Can I tell you what my criteria was, though, before we start?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, because I held myself to some rules that purposely did not tell you about because I wanted them to be different.
Oh,
but now I don't know. I didn't know you did the same thing, so they might end up being more similar than I thought. But what were your rules that you held yourself to?
I think we're learning that we are way more like each other
than we thought. Yeah,
because that one episode where we talked about would we be friends in elementary school, we just had the same experience. Yeah. I was like, dude, you were my high school bully. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
All right, here's my criteria. I even wrote it down because I was like, because I was wrestling through this. I was like, oh man, but this is a really funny movie, but it's not necessarily a comedy. Like, I had that thought.
Okay.
So here was my 2 criteria that I used. must have had me laughing the hardest. Like, out of all the movies I've seen, these are the 10 movies that have had me laughing the hardest throughout the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's one criteria. Two is that comedy is the selling point of the movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm going to tell you to go watch it, I'm going to say, dude, this is a funny movie.
Right.
Like, because, we talked about Sing Street last time. I'm already giving away one of my honorary mentions. Yeah, I just picked that one because you didn't think it was funny. But
I know it's not on your list.
Yeah. It's an honorary mention, though, because I don't consider that a comedy.
Right.
It's a dramedy.
Right.
Which, you didn't really find it as funny as I did, but I thought it was hilarious.
Well, in hindsight and hearing you talk about it, I can see the humor in it, but I took it differently. And like you said, I would never have viewed that as the selling point of that film.
Yeah.
So
right.
I agree with you on that. But anyway, so
those are my two. What are yours?
Okay. So actually, one of yours is very close to one of mine, which was I didn't put down any movies that to me weren't like straight up or primarily comedies first. So like, for example, you and I both find a lot of the Marvel movies hilarious. I didn't put any of them, even the Guardians movies or Deadpool, because to me, I don't view those as like comedy first.
Mhm.
Like those are, comic book hero, action movies with humor in it. So it had to be comedy first, because there actually, I think, is. Oh, well, no, it's one of my honorable mentions. It's not on my list. But anyway.
Oh, you have honorable mentions too?
Yeah.
Nice.
But so it had to be that. And then also one that I did in particular was because I tend to really follow like a person's style.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I like this one actor's movie, there's chances that I probably like 2 or 3 of their movies. So I could only pick one per like leading actor. So like, you'll see a little trend in some of my honorable mentions where like I had to narrow it down between this one or this one, and this is the one I picked, and I have reasons of why this one made it on my actual list versus my honorable mentions. Now, one thing I struggled with, other than just being like, what's a comedy? I can't think of any. Do they exist? Was my first big thing was I found myself deleting movies off my list constantly because I was like, well, people aren't going to agree with that. I don't think people are going to think that's a top 10 comedy. So I got over that, and I realized I wanted to preface this whole thing, at least for myself. I'm not going to speak for you, but for me, saying my top 10 list is not like this objective, these are the most iconic comedy movies. Like, some of these are actually fairly niche, I think. Now, I don't know. You might Google a list of top 100 or 200 comedy, well, they might all be on it. I don't know. Even all my honorable mentions, I have no idea. But I didn't do that. That was another thing. I when I kept hitting a wall, I was like, I'm not looking any up, because I feel like that's cheap. Like, that's not me coming up with it. That's another list, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a good one. I remember that now. I think part
of the fun of this is that it's your top 10.
Right.
So it might not, people might disagree with it, but they're wrong.
And
except for me.
And so that's why I was like, well, you know what? As long as I can justify why it's on this list for me, that's all that matters. So that became another criteria, is I don't care what the public reception of it was, because comedies are really polarizing too.
Yeah.
There's, probably a lot of comedy movies like I found funny, that like the general public was like, that sucked. So I was, I got over that. So the main things were, I had to be able to justify why it's on my list. So I have reasons for most of these. No multiple entries per like leading actor or cast or whatever, but usually it's like the main lead. And then
wait, say that last one again about the main lead.
I did not repeat movies with like, I'm trying to think. I'll use this one because none of his made it on the list, surprisingly. Like Will Ferrell, like if I put like Talladega Nights on my list, I could not put like Elf.
Oh, that's interesting.
I limited myself to one per lead because, like I said, if I like Will Ferrell, which I do, I'm gonna probably like a lot of. I could almost probably fill a top 10 list with Will Ferrell movies if I like him that much.
That's fair.
And there's a couple guys on here that they did a lot of movies, and I like a lot of them. But I was like, well, this isn't a them list; it's a comedy list. So I limited myself to one per comedic lead.
I did not have that criteria, and I do have multiple movies with the same actor in it.
That's good.
There's only one actor.
That's good.
You can probably guess who it is.
I think I know who it is. And actually, it's funny because, well, we'll get to it.
Okay.
I don't want to say that. That might ruin it. Okay. So that was my criteria, your criteria. So I guess with that being said, let's just kind of jump into it. I can't think of anything else to really lay the groundwork there.
Me neither.
So
you did a fantastic job. Should get a promotion.
I should get a blazer. That's what I should do.
That's true.
Put it over my hoodie.
Maybe that'll be the thing from now on, is we're always wearing blazers. That's our. I think a blazer over a hoodie might look cool. You might start a new fashion trend.
It might. I feel like that's kind of like what Miles Morales did in Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah.
Into Spider-Verse. In his little new school he went to.
That's a great comedy.
Not that I'm.
No, I'm just joking.
Actually, it is funny.
It is funny.
It's very funny. But anywho, so I if you're cool with it, I'd like to start with you. You're number 10.
Well, I'm not cool with it, but I'll do. So we're doing from 10 to 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is ironic because you already mentioned it.
Yours are in order, right? Like
yeah.
Okay, mine too.
I don't know if you noticed I was looking at my phone. I actually forgot to put them in order from 10 to 1, so that's what I was doing while you were talking. I was still listening.
Sure.
I promise.
Now I know how my wife feels. I was listening. All right, go ahead.
What? No. Okay. Number 10 is actually Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow. Okay.
And the reason it's number 10 is because, for some of the same reasons you mentioned, like, it's not necessarily a comedy, but it is the closest to a comedy of all the Marvel films. It is like 80% comedy, in my opinion. And I have sold that movie to people before by saying it's one of the funniest movies I've seen. It's one of the funniest movies in the Marvel universe. That's the only Marvel movie that's in the list, but it's
okay.
I just picked Guardians of the Galaxy. All three of them are hilarious, but the first one caught me by surprise because I was used to Marvel movies.
Yeah,
and I was like, this movie is like really funny.
Yeah,
so
kind of a breath of fresh air at the time.
Yeah.
That's fair because I know people who aren't even big into like the Marvel movies like thing, and they watch that and enjoy it just because it is like an action comedy. You know, it's got a lot of other elements to it other than just Marvel stuff.
Yeah,
so that's fair. I'm trying to get my necklace out of the thing. So my number 10 is where I say some of these may be pretty niche. I don't know. Coming to us from the year 1933.
Oh boy.
The Marx Brothers Duck Soup. You ever heard of it?
Oh, I've heard of that. I've seen that like on streaming services.
Have you really?
I've never watched it. Yeah.
I would recommend it. It is extremely funny. So how I first saw it ever years ago was my sister and I were at home and we were just like scrolling through the the movie channels that Time Warner used to have. And
man, that brings me back.
I know.
I forgot about that.
And we saw the name Duck Soup and we were like, what is that? That sounds weird. And we were like reading the thing and it sounded kind of funny. So we clicked on it and it was like this old black and white film. And I don't even remember like what part we started on. We didn't catch it from the beginning, but whatever we saw like caught our attention enough to keep watching it. And I just remember being infatuated with the style of comedy they were doing. And for that movie to be as old as it was, I was so shocked that it was resonating with me so much. First of all, I was younger at the time, but on top of that, you know, not all older styles of writing or comedy or movies or things like that, not all older forms of entertainment hit the same with newer audiences. And it really hit. So I'm pretty sure Groucho Marx is the lead, and he's playing this like president of this little country, Fredonia, and but he's like a smart aleck, like wisecracking type. And then a couple of his brothers play these like spies, but they're real goofy. And one of them doesn't talk at all. He carries like a bicycle horn in his belt loop and like steals people's hats and stuff. And it's just really funny. Like just these really funny bits of physical comedy mixed with like just really clever, like witty remarks and things.
I was
Um,
gonna guess that it was like a slapstick style.
the two brothers that are like spies are more slapstick. They get into these little slapping matches, and a couple people they run like a popcorn cart outside of the castle where the king president dude is living, and cops and stuff come up and tell them they gotta like move, so they'll like steal his hat, and they'll be replacing, switching all the hats around and kicking him in the butt and things.
Nice.
It's classic, like you said, just slapstick stuff, but it's really funny and very smooth. Like you could tell they rehearsed it a lot. They got it down really, really good, and um, it's just it's a really good film. I was worried that it might be a little niche for this just because I don't know how many people have heard it. The fact that you've at least heard of it made me feel better. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Well,
Uh,
I've only seen it, but I passed it up because I was like, I have no idea what this is.
I think it's on Prime. You can rent it for like a couple bucks. I would highly. I think you and Claire would enjoy it. It's very funny.
It sounds like something we would enjoy.
So that's my number 10. Is Duck Soup, the
All right.
Marx Brothers.
Do you like other older comedies?
Well,
if there's any on your list, then don't answer that question.
well, none like that.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't even think of any. Like, I'm not gonna say no. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head.
Some older comedies get me, but like the Three Stooges never really clicked for me.
Right.
You know?
See, to me, the Three Stooges is a little. They rely a little too heavily on the slapstick.
Yeah.
And slapstick can be funny, but I think it can be overdone. And I think they overdid it because that was like their shtick.
Yeah.
The Marx Brothers thing, like it's sprinkled in there, which is why I found it funny because I didn't expect it because the main guy is more like a mouthy type.
Mm-hmm.
And matter of fact, if I remember correctly, Mel Blanc, who voiced a lot of the original Looney Tunes characters, said that one of the inspirations for like what Bugs Bunny really became was Groucho Marx.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of the roles he played, just that real like smart mouthy, like I'm the smartest guy in the room, even though he's kind of dumb sometimes thing.
Yeah.
Like I remember, so just to give you an example, because this is one thing that sticks out in my mind. There's one part in the movie where the country's going to war, and he tells them, which this is actually a reference to something that really happened in history. I can't remember what war it was, but it's in like American history, I think, of a thing where they were signaling with candlelight in a window something about how the enemy troops were coming. Well, in the movie, he tells his troops in the little bunker, he's like, yeah, they're gonna light one candle if they're coming by land, and two if they're coming by sea. And then the camera pops out the window and you see a candle light up, and then like a couple seconds later another one, and he goes, ah, and then a third one lights up and he goes, ah, they double crossed me, they're coming by land and sea. And it's like just stupid stuff like that, but
Yeah.
it's really funny and clever. But I don't, I guess for me the slapstick stuff worked because of that stuff was like the main focus. The slapstick was kind of thrown in, but yeah, it's really funny. And yeah, I'm like you. The Three Stooges never really landed that much for me.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned how like older styles don't always hit.
Right.
I don't know what it is about a lot of older movies. Even Rocky, I love Rocky, but even Rocky is like this to some extent. Is it just me, or is the dialogue weirder in older films like that sometimes, where it's kind of hard to follow what they're saying?
Sometimes, I think, and it's funny, this almost kind of is a full circle moment going back to our first episode, but we talked about how I don't think the first version of something will ever be the best.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I think things constantly improve or they go away. And film is no exception. I think that there are really, really, really good classic movies like a Rocky, that still weren't really at the peak of what I think movies are, or
Sure.
probably even could be later down the road. So to that effect, what I would say is probably what it is they were struggling to find a balance of, show don't tell. You don't want to just exposit everything to the audience every second, but also you don't want to be so vague that, like you said, no one knows what's going on. Maybe it's hard to follow, kind of thing. There's a balance, and if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that Stallone's first writing credit?
I think it was. I know he wrote the film for himself.
Right. Yes. Okay. Rocky. He could have sold it like way before he did, but no one wanted to let him star in it.
Yeah.
So he wrote it, and like you said, wrote it for himself. And for a first script, that's fantastic. But it's gonna have flaws, and it did. But
Well, I'm not even saying Rocky specifically. Like movies and film in general in that time frame.
right,
For some reason, the dialogue, it's like maybe it's a style thing too, because the style of storytelling changes over time as well. I mean,
right.
we were talking about this when we briefly talked about Mission Impossible, but like the Mission Impossible 2 with all the like all the choreography for the action is so cheesy and over like just trading clean punches, like boom, it's over time it's become more like people want more realistic type stuff.
Right.
But that changes. I mean, because Marvel's not realistic at all. I mean, really.
Right. But neither are the new Mission Impossibles. But the difference there is
if this were to happen, this is how it would happen. Like
yeah, but like even more than that, just kind of boiling back down to like the art of filmmaking is like I just think they were able to do it better.
Yeah,
I think they're just able to make a better movie all around, and
that's true.
With that first episode when we were talking about The Godfather, like I think it falls victim to a lot of the same things that, like a Rocky would at that time, or any of those. Like, I don't know if you've seen the Creed movies, but
oh yeah, the Rocky like continuations,
right, with Michael B. Jordan.
I've seen the first two.
Those are essentially the same as Rockies. I mean, they're just underdog boxing movies, but they're newer. The fight scenes were insane. Like no one could figure out. I don't think anyone to this day has figured out how they made those look so real.
I know.
Like those were no cuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane how real those fights looked. And it's just that art. People have found ways to make it cleaner, sleeker, smoother, all the words. So I think that's just part of it. But I get it. I 100% get what you're saying and agree with you. So
okay, it's not just me then.
Nah, I don't think so. I wish I could think of other examples, but yeah, I agree with you.
All right.
We might have to do a list about that, like top 10 movies that like drag.
Oh, another thing I was gonna say. That's a great idea. I don't mean to dismiss that, but it reminded me. I don't have just movies on my list either. I have TV shows. And I was thinking about novels, but I don't think I've ever read a novel that's 100% comedy.
Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Oh, interesting.
You would not like it.
All right, you sold me. I have to read it right now. I'm leaving.
It's very vulgar, but it's very funny.
All
and
right.
the premise is cool. But I'm with you. Funny books. I mean, there's books written by like comedians and stuff. I don't know, other than Dungeon Crawler, which the author just is genuinely funny and he's able to put things here and there that I'm like, that was good. I don't know. That's tough. I wish I had known we were doing shows too, because there were a couple things I kept thinking of, and I was like, dang. I was sitting there thinking, I was like, we have got to do a top 10 like comedy TV shows, because I've got some ones I would really want to talk about for that. But that's all right. We'll do it anyway.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I ruined everything.
We'll do it anyway, and maybe you'll just re-talk.
That's an inside joke we were making before the podcast started. So
sorry. If you guys were here, you would know.
That's true.
We should start getting a little live audience in here.
Yeah, I got plenty of cardboard and just cut them right out. We'll put a little laughing track there. I'll use a foot switch. Make us feel better about ourselves. We can put this podcast on the list. Number 1 comedy.
Yeah. This is so funny. Aren't y'all are laughing?
Yeah. All right. Are we move? Next one.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, let's jump to it.
Speaking of older comedies,
Okay.
The Lord of the Rings. No, I'm just.
Wow.
No, number 9.
Bold.
What About Bob? Have you ever seen it?
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, most people haven't. It's a hidden gem.
And I was worried about being niche.
It's a Bill Murray
Okay.
and Richard Louis Dreyfuss.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's about Bill Murray plays this like what's it called when you're super paranoid about everything? Like
Paranoid schizophrenic?
No, he's not a schizophrenic, but he's like a huge germaphobe. He's got massive anxiety.
Oh, if he's like worried about he's hypochondriac. Like he's worried about germs, like getting sick. He always thinks he's sick.
No, it's not quite a hypochondriac, but he's kind of like that. But the point is he's got a lot of mental issues. He's like he's really scared. He like uses a napkin to touch everything, to shake people's hands and stuff.
Oh, that's like a form of OCD.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of OCD, and he's anxiety about a lot of things. And
so he's playing Howie Mandel in the movie.
And he's Richard Dreyfuss plays this psychiatrist who's like really stuck up and full of himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bill Murray's character, basically he thinks that this psychiatrist can help him solve his problems, so he follows him around everywhere, and through the process he kind of ends up getting cured, but he turns the psychiatrist insane because of how ridiculous he is. It's a really funny story. It's one of those movies where I was laughing like through the entire film.
Okay.
There's a couple spots where I was like gut busting laughing.
I do like Bill Murray, so that would be one I would check out. I have to go ahead and make a little note of that on my list.
Yeah. This is another good thing about doing this is we're gonna give each other things to watch.
Yeah, because I was gonna tell you at the beginning, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of things on your list I haven't seen. I just have a feeling that that's gonna be the case. I could be totally wrong, but
I don't think there's gonna be a lot. There might be that one and maybe one or two others.
Fair enough.
There's probably, based off of what you said, there's probably stuff on your list that I haven't seen.
Well, I think the first one was really what I meant.
Oh, okay.
The rest of them are fairly non-niche.
The rest of them are super mainstream.
Yeah, they're very, very much known. Speaking of, jump into my number 9, which comes with an honorable mention. The honorable mention is the movie Airplane.
Okay.
Which I saw later in life, but loved. That is like my style of humor right there. And Leslie Nielsen, I think, is his name.
Is that the Don't Call Me Shirley movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's so stupid. It's so good. I love it.
I think I know what your number 9 is then.
You want to guess it?
Is it The Naked Gun?
It is The Naked Gun. That movie, I was hurting laughing the first time I saw The Naked Gun. And what it was I had been shown Airplane not too long before, and The Naked Gun was on Netflix at the time. And I was scrolling through Netflix and saw that, and I saw he was in it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is that dude from the Airplane movie. And I watched it, and I was dying. It was so freaking funny. And it was like Airplane, but cranked up to 11. I mean, I didn't know it could get dumber, and it got dumber, and I love it. Just the stupid little, he walks in the guy's, the rich dude's like office or whatever, and he holds out a box of cigars, and he's like, Cuban? He goes, no, Dutch Irish on my father's side. Stuff like that kills me. I love that.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So that had to be on the list. I'm somewhat surprised it didn't make it higher, but I think the reason it didn't make it higher was kind of its iconic status compared to some of these other ones, and then also not nostalgia, but like well, yeah, I guess nostalgia, like kind of a nostalgic bias for some of these that get higher up. Just the memories of watching, like that one I just kind of watched alone after seeing another movie, and it was hilarious. It was funny enough to make it on the list, but some of these are just like really good memory movies for me too. So, but yeah, so that's my number 9, The Naked Gun.
Nice. Naked Gun is funny.
It's hilarious.
That conversation brought up 2 movies that I wrote down an honorary mention. I was like, I can't believe I forgot about these, but I still think they're honorary mentions. Like,
Okay.
I wouldn't replace them with anything on the list. But yeah, Naked Gun is funny. I haven't seen it in a really long time. I've actually never seen Airplane either. So I need to go watch it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Airplanes, I mean, it's similar vein.
Yeah.
The reason honorable mention for me is because I think Naked Gun is better. So I didn't put Airplane on the list, even though it is fairly iconic in like the comedy movie realm. But first of all, he's kind of a lead in that movie, so I wanted to pick one or the other. And he's more of a lead in Naked Gun, and to me, it's just more like of a concentrated version of all the things I liked about Airplane. So that's why I went with it. But
yeah, I mean, you said it was like goes to 11. It's like it's like an Airplane, but on 11. So that makes sense.
Right. So
all right, let's switch it up. You give me your number 8 first.
Oh, okay. All right. So my number 8. This is where I started to feel self-conscious a little bit because people have their opinions about this man. Okay.
Oh boy.
And the bottom line is, I'm willing to meet in the middle and say, in most of my lifetime, he has sucked. But for a little bit, in the early 90s, maybe early to mid, he was killing it. And that is Adam Sandler. And the movie I picked is Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah.
Because that is a hilarious movie.
That is a funny movie.
That is a hilarious movie. You could say what you want about his more recent releases. I know they've become formulaic, watered down. I get it. But bless you.
Thanks.
I love old Adam Sandler. It's hard to beat. I mean, those were pretty era defining, really. I mean,
Definitely.
you know, when you look back at it, he was kind of running that section of movie. I mean, you know, he was kind of on a roll there for a bit.
Yeah.
So I had to throw one of them in there. I don't know if I have any. No, I don't have any of his other ones on. My dad would kill me for not choosing Waterboy over Happy Gilmore.
Oh, that's a tough one.
But
those are both funny.
They're both funny. I've always liked Happy Gilmore better.
Well, I think I would agree with that just because Waterboy is funny despite the Waterboy. Like the character. Like the Waterboy character is funny, like but his kind of like kind of stuff, it didn't really hit for me. It was more just the writing around the character and all the other characters.
Yeah.
That the funniest scene in the Waterboy to me is when the coach Henry Winkler gets so mad and he's like, I cried like a 10-year-old girl, and he throws that thing out the window and it just hits the professor. He goes, you know what I'm talking about?
No. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
I was like 10 when my friend saw that, and we did you remember the DVDs, you could hit A, B, repeat, and you would just repeat a scene. We did that and go, we were just like,
I never knew what that meant.
A, B, repeat?
Yeah, I never knew what that meant.
I discovered it by accident one day, and I watched all movies like that. I was just like, look, if you just repeat this is funny.
And everyone's like, hey, we're not watching movies with you anymore, Daniel.
People were already like that. I was in a room by myself going, yay!
Well, it's because you made them feel bad because you always showed up wearing a blazer.
Yeah, that's true.
We're here to hang out and have fun, and you're here to make a business deal.
Hey, don't hate me because I'm beautiful.
No, I hate you because you look rich.
What? That's like a $5 blazer from Goodwill or something.
Well, I can't help it.
I think I got that one at JCPenney.
I can't help it that you have good taste and you're frugal. Is frugal the right word?
I guess so. I don't know. I'm
like,
not rich.
Cheap with, like, good with your money, like
yeah.
Penny
Frugal's
pinch?
well, frugal is like the good version of cheap.
Okay,
like,
that's what I meant.
Cheap is the extreme frugal where it's like to the point where it's bad.
Okay.
Frugal is just like you don't frivolously spend your money.
Good point. All right, that's what I meant. All right,
yeah.
Want to make sure. All right, so you're number 8.
My number 8 is a TV show.
Okay.
Seinfeld. Can't go wrong with Seinfeld. Now, I think I know how you feel about this one. You don't like Seinfeld. And if you have a moment, I'd love to talk to you about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Well, I have more than a moment for you to talk to me about it. Because here's the thing.
Okay.
I need you to, because I'm about to meet him, because I'm gonna die of boredom if I watch Seinfeld.
Okay, but I think we've had this conversation before. You only watched the early episodes. Like Seinfeld.
Well, that's not true. I don't think. I mean, I've never sat down and watched the show, like got on Netflix and like hit season 1, episode 1, and tried to watch the show. I've just seen episodes of it like throughout my life. So I've probably seen some from like the last season, some from the first, some from the middle.
Well, last time we talked about this, I feel like I remembered you describing what you saw, and I was like, those are the early episodes. The truth is, Seinfeld actually didn't test well at all when it first came out. Like, most people didn't like it. It slowly started to gain popularity. And by, I would say around like season 5 is when they had it dialed in. And 5 through like 9, the last season might even be the funniest one. They ended it at the perfect time, but it just got so funny. So here's what I recommend that we do sometime. I'm going to pick the funniest Seinfeld episode that I can think of, and we're going to watch it together. It's only 30 minutes long. And if you still don't like it by then okay, you don't like Seinfeld. But I just don't see how you can't like it. I mean, it's that show has me dying every time I watch it. There's some duds in there where it's like not that funny.
Well, I mean, every show has that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold it at fault for that, but you know, you see these things like especially now in the day and age of like social media, like a lot of shows are getting like revived on things like Netflix and Prime and things like that, because people have the capability of like sharing out these clips of the show on YouTube, short, you know, reels, whatever, Instagram, TikTok. People see these little clips and then like, oh, that was kind of cool, that was interesting, or that was funny, or whatever. What's that from? And then they tell you, and then now you have streaming, so you can just go and watch these shows. So a lot of them, Community, The Office, Friends, Seinfeld, a lot of these older shows kind of got like new life. I've seen a lot of what fans of the show would call like pretty iconic clips from the show, like in that format. Granted, yes, out of context, but the whole point of that is it's supposed to be like a moment that is so funny or interesting that it kind of grabs you to catch your interest to want to watch more of it.
No, I don't think that's the point of those kind of videos. Those videos are for the fans of Seinfeld to share and like remember this when this moment happened.
Well, I'm
like,
not
I think
saying
most of the time you need the context of the episode.
Well, I'll put it like this: I have seen not only myself but like a lot of people in comment sections come to know a lot of new shows and love them from those clips, because clips like that can grab you and hook you and make you want to watch more of it. Maybe Seinfeld is just a unique case where you can't appreciate whatever that clip is without kind of the lead up into it, because I will say I know that is kind of Jerry's whole thing, is that he's a comedian. So he probably kind of, if he wrote, did he write the show?
Him and Larry David.
So I'm sure he kind of wrote the show in a format of like a joke where there's kind of a lead up and then there's, you know, some context and then the punchline or whatever. So, and I mean, I'm sure it's not that black and white, but I'm saying pieces, you know, of it. So that's fair, but
well, I'm not even saying, there's probably a good amount of clips in there that you wouldn't need the context to get. So I'm not trying to just say like, well, you have to watch the show to understand any of it. I was just making the point that I don't think that's the point of those types of videos, to try and lure new viewers in. It's more of like an audience to share this moment together. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. That's happened to me. I've seen those types of videos and been like, oh, I'll have to check the show out.
Yeah, that's fair.
But okay, for instance, I can think of a. There's an episode where they go to L.A. because, you know, they live in New York in the show, and they're like clueless about what's going on, and Kramer gets framed for some kind of murder or something, and they're trying to figure things out, and Jerry and George are just like on the streets trying to figure things out, and some guy walks by, and George goes, "Excuse me, sir, where are we?" He goes, "Earth," and just walks away, like very, almost kindly. He's just like, "Earth." They're just like culture shocked. Just little stuff like that. Like,
I mean, that's funny.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's full of stuff like that. We joke like that all the time. It makes me think, I mean, I don't know, maybe maybe part of it is the thing we were talking about earlier, where the older older types of, because it was like early 90s when it came out. So maybe it's just
I mean, definitely, yeah, definitely the I'm not even gonna say it's the style the show is written in, because I think there's other sitcoms from that time that I probably enjoy more than that one. But I think it might just be Jerry and Larry, Jerry and Larry.
Jerry and Larry.
Their style in general is it's
Oh, dude, I don't know. Have you ever watched Jerry Seinfeld's comedy? His stand-up comedy?
yeah, some of it. I mean, there's bits and pieces of it in the show.
Oh, that sort of. The idea behind the show when it started was supposed to be showing how a comedian got his material.
Right.
So they
right.
they showed clips of him in the show doing stand-up, but he's doing it as Jerry in the show. That's not part of his like actual routine.
I've seen his like some of his well, at least I've seen his newest, or at the time it was. It's been some years ago. I don't know if he's put another one out. I don't think he's very active anymore in the stand-up space.
Oh, he totally is.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's still touring and stuff.
Well, then it may not be his newest anymore, but some years back he put a big special out on Netflix, and I watched it, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't bad.
Was it Jerry before Seinfeld? Where it was kind of like a documentary / special?
Was that the one where he had all the like pieces of paper throughout the yeah.
I love that documentary.
It was good. I mean, I enjoyed that, and there were some funny things in it. I don't remember a lot of it. Actually, I don't really remember any of it other than the paper thing. And that's not me saying it wasn't funny. That's me saying it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that. You know, I thought I remember laughing, and I remember that because I remember being a little surprised because I was like, wow, his stand-up's actually pretty good. Like it hits more with me than his show did. And he was older, and I was like, I didn't think he'd still have it like that at that age, because some people can lose it, but he did not. He had some really good takes on, like, you know, some different approaches on some things, and like I probably need to rewatch it because I do remember enjoying it. I will say that.
I think you have. I mean, my prediction is that you haven't experienced the show in the right context, but that's just possible. Me. That's me holding on to hope. You might just not like it, in which case I'm gonna have to reconsider this friendship. But,
you might just need to reconsider your top 10 list.
No, that's definitely not what it is.
That is not the problem. No, that's fair. I mean, yeah, we'll that could be an interesting, maybe a little short version of an episode one day.
I'm gonna force you to like Seinfeld. That's the show.
You tie me to this chair.
Laugh!
That was funny. You missed the cue. A-B repeat. A-B repeat.
I'm just gonna have Jerry just going on repeat. You're gonna be like, "That's funny."
But yeah, no, I mean that'd be interesting. Maybe you get one or two, you know, up to three, like somewhere between 1 and 3 that you think are like some gold tier, you know, Seinfeld episodes. We'll kind of chill and watch them, and then we'll do like an immediate reaction, and you can kind of pick my brain. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd be willing to do that. I don't despise the show. It's never been that funny to me.
Well, and part of the reason I say you haven't seen it in the right context is because there's like a lot of episodes, especially the earlier ones, that did that for me. Like,
okay.
My brother actually one time, because we used to watch Seinfeld as a family because my dad loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And when my brother and I moved away to Austin, he bought like the first 3 seasons or something. And he told me later, he was like, I started watching it and I was like, man, I remember this show being good, but it's like, it was not that funny. It was like, okay. So there's, especially the earlier seasons, it took them a while to really get their rhythm.
Okay.
I feel like the reason it caught on in the first place and didn't just flop is because it was such a unique idea on a show that people were willing to see where it led.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my...
Well, see, and my thing is, I will say, the fans, look, sorry to anybody who's a fan of this show out there. Unless you've done what I'm about to say, then I take it back. I'm not sorry.
Apology not accepted.
This is on you. Well, I'm not apologizing to you because you haven't done this.
Oh, okay.
Yet. Every time I get in this discussion with someone, their defense for the show that they think is supposed to make me be like, oh, my apologies. This is on me for not getting it. Everyone's defense is always, no, man, you don't understand. The show is about nothing. That's the hook. That's what's so cool. I'm like, oh, that's interesting to you? Okay, well, I got one for you. Here's a wall with paint drying. Enjoy. Like, I mean...
That's not fair.
It's not fair to try and sell me on a show that I already just told you I'm not a fan of the style, and then you tell me I don't get it because the point is that it's about nothing.
Okay. That's fair. Like, I wouldn't try to sell it to someone that way. But part of the selling point for me, what's so funny about it to me, is that it's a show about nothing. Because I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to convince you to watch it because of that. I'm just saying that's one of the things I think is funny about it. It's like they somehow like they're talking about the tiniest little things that like everyone's experienced, but no one puts this much thought. Like there's an episode when they're on the plane and they're in first class and they're just Jerry got to experience first class for the first time and he's like talking every scene it goes back to him. There's something they're enjoying about first class again, and he's with this girl and they're eating ice cream and he goes, "Do you know what they did? They put the fudge at the bottom. That enables you to control your fudge distribution as you're eating the ice cream." It's just like, who would even think of something like that? And then she says, "I've never known someone who knew so much about nothing." That's funny to me. I almost sounded like Jerry when I said that. That's funny to me.
What's up with that? Airline ice cream.
Look, I'm not trying to convince you to watch it right now. I'm just telling you.
No, I
what.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just. We'll have to do the episode where we watch some of it and discuss it. I think it'd be worth doing.
To be fair, that little segment I gave, that would not be one of the things I would use to try and
I know
convince
that was you give an example of how like it's about nothing, but they put so much detail into it that they try and make it funny.
Yeah,
and that's what people enjoy about
and
it.
Succeed. You know, this is funny because in our first episode,
It's funnier than Seinfeld.
All right, now.
Okay, it's funnier than Lord of the Rings.
That's true.
All
That's
right.
true. Although the funny part was like, "Not the man" in Lord of the Rings. You know, that was pretty funny. The funny thing is, the first episode we had this discussion where I was like, I don't actually think art is necessarily 100% subjective. You remember when we had that discussion?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm trying to be like, well, this is why it's funny for me.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's not funny. So
Well,
the roles have switched.
And I was gonna say it's actually really switched because really you're in what I would call the majority. I think most people agree with you that Seinfeld is funny because it is about nothing. Like there's no point, there's no plot. It's these day-to-day little things that the continuation is the relationships. That's the continuous thread, but really other than that, I mean, it's whatever. And people for some reason just they love that. A lot of people do. I mean, it's iconic for a reason. I know I'm in the minority, but yes, it's you're arguing the subjectivity of it, and I'm I mean, I guess I'm still arguing the subjectivity of it, but in a different way.
Well, sort of.
The right way.
No, that's not it. The left way. Yeah, but again, like I'm not trying to argue for anything when it comes to the show about nothing part. I was just explaining to you why I think it's funny.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
I am trying to argue that I do think if you got the right episodes in there, because you laugh at the stuff that we joke about all the time. Is like I joke in the same way that they joke on the show all the time.
Well, so I guess for me that begs the question. Let's say you showed me 3 episodes and I laughed at all 3 and I thought all 3 were pretty darn good. How many seasons of the show are there?
9.
How many episodes per season? Probably about 20 at least.
20.
So what is that? That's 180, almost 200 episodes. Even if I liked 3 per season, that is a fraction of the total. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
to
well,
me, I still
three per season. But my point is that from season really from season 4, but like season 4 was like the swing upward, and then 5 was like skyrocket in my opinion.
Okay.
From season 5 onward, it just gets really good.
I guess that calls for kind of an experiment. Honestly, it'd probably be a 2-parter of like getting an initial reaction from us watching, and then I get some homework over time, and then we revisit it later and be like, so what do you think? You know?
But don't you also think that if I showed you 3 episodes and you laughed really hard at them, that it would at least cause you to reevaluate and be like, well, maybe I have seen.
Well, that's my point, though. I'm not saying it wouldn't cause me to reevaluate. What I'm saying is, does that make it a good show for me? For me, not.
Well, but I'm asking, would you reevaluate the show as a whole and be like, maybe I do need to give it more of a chance?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It bears an experiment at that point.
Yeah.
If I watch 3 episodes that I'm like, okay, that was really good, actually, then to me that bears me being like, okay, maybe I need to start here and watch to the end and see what kind of appreciation I gain for it, if any. And there's a chance I would, there's a chance I wouldn't. but watching it with an open mind and trying it, and then coming back and having another discussion about like, okay, I've seen like 5 seasons of it now, the later ones, but I've seen 5 seasons of it, and this is my new outlook on it. I think that bears looking at. I think it'd be interesting because I don't see a lot of people doing stuff like that, so it'd be something unique to our channel.
That's true.
Especially because not many channels have someone bold enough to tell the world how much Seinfeld's not that funny. So you're welcome.
Stupid enough is the term you're looking
That's
for.
That's what all the comment. You mean dumb enough, you idiot? You just don't get it. The show's about nothing. Anyway, cool. So that was your.
I didn't expect that one to take. I didn't expect us to spend so much time on that one.
You forgot who you were talking to.
That's true. I did. As soon as I said it, I was like, I forgot he doesn't like Seinfeld.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's all right. I mean, good discussion.
Yep.
And it gave us another idea.
That's true.
So was that was your 8, right?
That was my 8.
Well, let's do like a snake thing. So now you do your 7.
I'm a snake.
Never mind. I'll go. Don't talk again.
You haven't seen that video? You look legitimately scared. Like your whole expression changed.
I didn't love that, especially since it's right here in this ear. I'm a snake. Like that's how that felt.
Have you not seen that video? I'm a leathery snake.
I think I have,
Okay.
but maybe that's why I hated it. I don't know.
Maybe so. It's a pretty. It's funny. All right, so now it's my turn to do number 7.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to agree on this. If we don't, I'm gonna lose it. Number 7, Napoleon Dynamite.
That almost was on my list.
It didn't make it.
It didn't make my list. So not because I don't think it should be on there, but because I already had so many movies on there that I was like, this is like, for me, this is such a core memory movie for me kind of thing. Dude, when I saw Napoleon Dynamite, and the comment section, if there ever becomes one, if we ever get enough people to watch these,
if 6 people start watching,
all 6 of them are going to curse me in the comment section in about 10 seconds.
I don't know. Before you say what you're about to say, I have a feeling that we had the same experience. So
it's possible.
But go ahead.
But I'm talking about, because of the conversation we just had
about Seinfeld.
Yes, this movie is about nothing.
That's so true.
And it is hilarious.
I got you. Boom.
This movie is so stupid.
Yeah.
When I was in 6th grade the first time I saw this, and I drove people nuts around me. I quoted this movie 24/7. I would imitate Kip. I would imitate Napoleon. I would imitate Uncle Rico. I would imitate Pedro. I did them all. I almost knew that whole movie line for line.
Yeah.
Like from the first, unravel the little action figure from his binder and throw it out the window. What are you going to do today, Napoleon? Whatever I feel like. Gosh. Like from that, the whole thing, the dance number, I couldn't. My neighbor learned the entire dance at the end and performed it at his sister's wedding.
That's awesome. That movie was a cultural revolution.
It kind of was, but it didn't feel like it.
Yeah, no.
I don't remember that many people being like, "Oh yeah, like that movie." To this day, not a lot of people talk about it. Like it never gained that.
I did not have that experience. Everyone was talking about it.
Fair enough.
But the thing is it wasn't popular in release. It was like an indie release, like a Sundance.
Right.
It got popular when it got released on DVDs.
Yes.
Because people were like just talking about it, like, dude, you got to watch this movie. But like at church, at school, everyone was talking about Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. What'd you say you did over the summer again, Napoleon? I told you. I spent it with my uncle in Alaska hunting wolverines. Right. What'd you shoot him with? A freaking 12 gauge. What do you think?
It's a great movie.
It really is.
Something funny about that movie. I was actually just yesterday listening to the Nate Land podcast with Nate Bargatze.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And they had a guest on there who was from Idaho. And he said, because Napoleon Dynamite takes place in Idaho, he said that movie got popular in Idaho because it accurately represents what it's like living in Idaho. He said he thought it was a documentary. So
wow.
He wasn't being serious. He was joking. He was just like, it was so accurate, like how much Did
they ever mention that in the movie?
Well, that they're from Idaho?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do mention it.
When?
In the
I don't remember.
pinata scene whenever Pedro creates a pinata of Summer Wheatley so people can bash it.
And they tell him it's illegal in this state or whatever to.
He said something like, "In the state of Idaho,
Oh, okay.
we don't do this."
Okay.
And that's a real school. I think it's called Preston High School in
Did
Idaho.
they film there?
Mm-hmm.
They filmed in Idaho.
I think so. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So
It looks so empty.
yeah, I know.
I didn't know where the heck they filmed because I was like, this looks like a desert. I mean, there's just nothing out here.
It is a desert, pretty much.
But I thought Idaho is where they grow like a lot of potatoes and stuff.
They
I
do.
thought it'd be pretty fertile.
Yeah, well, it is. It's got fertile. I guess desert's the wrong word, but it's got. Apparently, it's funny. I only know this because I was listening to Nateland,
Yeah.
and the topic was Idaho, so they were talking about this. But apparently, it's got like a lot of volcanic ash soil or something. I don't remember exactly what they said.
That's wild.
And it's got the perfect climate for potatoes.
That's wild.
So they just grow a lot of potatoes.
Now, another thing.
No.
Okay. My number 7. No, so I have not heard this like straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, but I have seen it kind of in the movie, so I am led to believe that this is true. When it first started getting like real popular in like our circle, my mom's boss is actually who gave us a copy of the DVD because they watched it and they were like, "Y'all gotta watch this." And so we were all talking about it, for months and stuff. Like you said, everyone that saw it was after that. And I forgot how she found this out, but my mom's boss found out something about somehow, some way, the guy who played Uncle Rico.
Mm-hmm.
You remember through the whole movie, he was cutting up and eating steak.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm about to say?
Yeah.
He's vegetarian.
Yeah.
and they were talking about how you can actually see the actor in certain scenes like spit it out or like do things like this,
Mhm.
and he's clearly like taking it out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But his whole character was about eating steak, so he constantly had to do it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting little fun fact because he did it real smooth. I never noticed it on first or second watch, but when you know it and you go back and watch, there's always a way that they do either a cut or he does something to where he gets the steak out of his mouth
Yeah.
after he eats it. But they have to get the shot of him like chewing and talking because that's how he was. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, actors get a lot of flack. There's bad apples in every bunch. It's probably a really tough thing to be an actor.
Yeah.
You really got to probably step out of your comfort zone for a lot of things if you want to make it. If you're an actor and you haven't had a big role yet and someone comes to you and says, "Hey, we got a role for you. You'd be perfect for it. We're going to pay you. You're going to make a living doing the thing you've been trying to do for years. Are you in?" "Well, yeah. What do I got to do?" "Well, you got to eat steak."
Yeah.
"Well, I'm vegetarian."
Yeah.
"Well, you got to eat steak." Like, I mean, like that's crazy. Like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, not for a whole movie. I mean, because you know how many takes they have to do of each scene, dude? Oh, man.
That's tough.
I was listening to like a behind the scenes thing of like the Office Ladies podcast. They were talking, about things, takes where they would have episodes where they were eating something. And man, they have like spit buckets and stuff. It's nasty. It's disgusting. But I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't gorge on food all day. You'll throw up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I could do it.
Oh yeah?
No.
Yeah.
I pretty much do it anyway.
Yeah, right. I could tell. Okay, cool. So yeah, that was
That what you said about being an actor is tough reminds me of something I heard that happened on another movie, but that movie's on my list. So I'm
okay.
gonna wait till we get to there to talk about it.
Okay. All right. So that was your number 7. So my number 7 is another one that's a little bit of a personal pick. Like I don't think it's like top 10, iconic status of all time, but I love this actor. I had to pick one of his movies, and for me, for some reason, this is just one of my favorites, and that is Steve Carell, Get Smart.
Oh, that's a great one.
I love this movie. I know it's not the best movie ever, but it's got a pretty loaded cast, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all rich.
Yeah, they got a lot of money.
It's actually true. That's what's funny about that.
But it's got a star-studded cast.
Yeah.
and a pretty good story. Honestly, well written movie, and it is just, oh my gosh, it's just Steve Carell in his prime, man.
Mm-hmm.
He is so freaking funny in that movie. Uh, oh, 8 o'clock, time to punch Max in the face. I love him, dude.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat classic, like prime Steve Carell.
I agree.
It's possible because there are 6 other movies ahead of it on this list,
That's true.
but it's hard.
There's my favorite scene in that movie is when he takes the stapler and just staples the bear. Every time I see that scene, I'm in tears. It's just the way it played. It was totally unexpected. So yeah. Did you ever watch All That?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a skit that I can never find, but it is so funny. Wow, I laughed so hard there. It's making me dizzy.
I got you.
Oh, thank you.
We'll be right back.
But they're in science class,
Mm-hmm.
and a kid didn't have a project ready, and so he was like, "All right, can you come up and show the class your project?" And he takes a stapler and he's like, "Observe. This will send pain receptors to my brain." And he just goes, "Oh!" And the class goes like, I wish I could remember that scene. I just saw it when I was really little.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it's really funny.
All that had some pretty good sketches on it.
They sure did.
Did you watch the behind the scenes thing about like what's it called? Behind the curtain or something like
Quiet
that?
on Set?
Quiet on Set.
Oh, yeah. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I know what it's all about.
Dude,
really devastating.
It's rough.
I can't watch any of those old Nickelodeon shows anymore without knowing what so many of them were going through.
I don't know why, but it made me want to go rewatch Drake and Josh, like just because. So, like the thing of it is like he actually got away from a lot of it by going to that show because he wouldn't let that other guy come to the thing. So, I guess maybe that was part of it, is just knowing he was in a better environment on a better set. Drake and Josh is for sure forever a comfort. Like if I was doing a top 10 comedy shows list, which we're going to do for another episode because now we have to, because now you started it already, Drake and Josh would be on it. Classic. Sorry for that noise. There is I guess a motorcycle.
Oh, is that what that was?
With a loud radio that just pulled up, I guess, in Daniel's backyard.
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know if you can hear it on the...
Yeah, I could.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But yeah, that would be on it.
I actually didn't pick Drake and Josh, and that was a tough one for me, only because, like I said, my criteria is I had to be laughing like the entire time, and like, well, I guess technically those would be the thing, but it just wasn't as good as the other options that I had, and that was a tough thing because I love Drake and Josh. There's some hilarious moments.
Drake and Josh, man, Crazy Steve.
Yeah.
Why, Dora? You're the explorer. Why are you asking me? That's classic.
It's good stuff.
Okay, so you want me to?
Yeah, you do number 6, and then I'll do my number 6.
Okay.
Just don't do number 2.
All right, I'll skip it. Okay, so my number 6 is Anchorman 2.
Dude. I'm so happy to hear you say this. I actually forgot about those, and I didn't put them on my list. But
oh, okay, yeah. So I guess I did put a Will Ferrell movie on here.
You did.
My bad. Whoops. Go ahead.
No, you go. This is yours. I'm not trying to steal your thunder.
No, I
I already came in with a blazer. I need to tone it down. So
please back off. No, this movie. So funny story. Thank you. The end. What's your number 6? I had tried to watch Anchorman 1 years before. Someone let me borrow it. I had never seen it. Tried to watch it. Kind of bounced off of it. Like I didn't hate it or anything. Maybe I just wasn't in that headspace or that mood. I don't know. I just didn't love it. So I never ended up going back to rewatch it. I knew there were like classic scenes from it. You know, there were a bunch of memes regarding it, and I don't know. I never went back and gave it another shot. Anchorman 2 comes out in theaters, and I there was something in the trailers or something that just it cracked me up. And I was like, I gotta go see that. Like that looks hilarious. I was like, I probably don't need to see the other one to really. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's a very lore heavy movie. So I went and watched it, and I was crying, laughing in the theaters watching that film. That movie cracks me up to this day. I love so many parts of that movie. The freaking who knew who knew you weren't allowed to do cocaine live on the air? Well, good to know. Yeah. We won't do that again.
The funniest part is when they're actually doing it. So you just put it in a line like this.
Yeah, that's what you do. And then the sports highlight, whammy, whammy, yeah. Whammy, wham. Chicken of the cave.
Yeah. Nobody calls it
that. Yeah. You remember that time I had that dream and I was alone? Rick, we're talking about things where we were all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so many quotables, so many hilarious. That movie was nonstop funny. I was dying laughing in the theater watching that.
It's hilarious.
Had you seen the first one first?
Yeah. Well, here's what's funny. I'm so glad that this is one of your movies because everyone that I have ever talked to has the opposite experience of you. They loved the first one, and the second one didn't land for them.
Really?
Everyone. Yeah, you're probably going to get a lot of flack for that in the comments for being like the first one didn't land.
I cannot catch a break today.
Everyone, like everybody is like the first movie is, and I love the first movie.
It's a classic.
I think it's hilarious. But
now in hindsight,
I don't know why the second movie didn't hit because I thought it was super funny. Like, yeah. I tell that to everyone. I'm like, what didn't land for you?
Yeah.
And like the part where I was like sold on the movie is in the RV when they
and they like setting it up. It yeah. Well, it's a good thing we brought these bowling balls. What are you still frying all that stuff in the deep fryer in an RV?
Do you want to? Something funny about that is that actually I think was a legitimate case where someone put cruise control in an RV and they thought it meant autopilot and they tried to sue the company or something.
That makes it even better.
I know.
But yes, the funny thing about that was I didn't catch it the first time I watched it. I was just like, they're just talking about random stuff. So then when it flips and you see a scorpion come and pinch him and a bowling ball come and hit him in the face and then the oil and by the way, every like third cut is just Brick flying through all of it without getting hit by anything.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah. Yeah. It's hilarious. And then when it crashes and they go, that's going to be a story.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, that's even, it's good if even just talking about it can make you laugh that deep and genuinely. I love that movie. Yeah. So I had to put it on the list. For me, I put it above one just because the experience I had personally with it. Sorry if that's not the popular opinion. But now I'm probably gonna go rewatch that within the next few days now, just because of us talking about it.
So have you rewatched the first one since the second?
Yes. One? Okay. Yeah. And I liked it.
You liked it better?
Not well.
No, I'm saying better than the first time you watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't bounce off of it.
Yeah.
But the second one will always have a special place in my heart.
Another part, like, that's what's so fun. It blew my mind people didn't like the second one because to me it took all of the good parts about the first one and like amplified them. Like
I agree.
In the beginning when he's going, I love scotch. Here it goes down to my belly. In the first one, that's classic. It's hilarious. But then in the second one, he's like, they're coming from the back door. Grab the children.
And that's his warm up.
Yeah, I know.
Or okay, what about the scene at the dinner with the family? He's going to meet the girlfriend's family in the second one.
Oh yeah. That one, it's funny, but it's hard to watch. It's like,
or when he's telling his son, watch out for the banshees or something on. He's like, you go down for angel hair pasta, you come up with a handful of Battle of the Bulge or something like that.
I don't remember that. Yeah, I don't remember that
Oh
part.
my gosh. Anyway, no, that movie is hilarious.
It's very funny.
I love it, dude. And the thing that gets me is I'm pretty sure that whole cast is just riffing the whole time. I don't think a lot of that was even scripted. Do you
It's
know how
very
many
possible.
alternate takes there probably are of jokes in that film?
I'm sure a lot.
And then all the cameos too.
Yeah.
That movie was
Harrison
loaded
Ford.
with cameo. Wait, what?
Harrison Ford. Yeah, he played the guy who fired at the very beginning when, because you remember
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, he's like getting in their faces and like looking at them. It's at the beginning of the movie.
I remember them getting fired, but I don't remember it being him.
Oh man, that was funny just that he was in there when I
Yeah.
saw that. I was like, that's hilarious. James Marsden,
Yes. Yes.
Jack Lame.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That movie was great. People, I
will-
don't know why it didn't land for people.
I will buy your mother Dorsey Mantooth a very nice dinner and then never call her again. I know that's from the first one, but you're welcome, all you first movie.
No, I
fans.
think that's the second one.
No, Mantooth was what's his face's character from the first movie. They're like antagonists. What's his name? He's in Wedding Crashers and all
Oh
that.
yeah, that's right.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Vince Vaughn's character. And I will buy your mother Darcy Mantooth a very nice seafood dinner and then never call her again. And they're just standing there like
Yeah,
staring at him.
That's a good one. So wait, no, now it's your turn again. Because we're
No,
doing
that
like
was
a snake.
that
thing.
was my number 6, so it's your turn.
Oh right, because I did number 7 first.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 6 is another show, SpongeBob SquarePants. Obviously.
Dude, this sucks. I wish I had known this. That's a good one.
So good.
That's
only
classic.
only the first 3 seasons.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that.
Oh my god! Do not sit here and tell me that you don't like Seinfeld, but you think the 5th through 1200th episode of SpongeBob is funny.
Okay,
Get out.
I will say, as the show has gone on, it's a lot more inconsistent. But I would be lying if I've said I haven't just occasionally been flipping through and landed on Nickelodeon and SpongeBob's playing and it's a newer episode that I've never seen and something happens and I don't kind of like chuckle at it. Like it's still got some funny things.
Yeah, it's got funny parts in the newer seasons.
I think it's a lot more played out now. I think its prime has already passed. I'm not saying that.
It passed 20 years ago.
I don't know about that. See, to me,
the SpongeBob movie, the first movie.
oh my gosh,
That a lot of people didn't like that, but I thought the movie was hilarious.
The movie was so good.
But that was the end. That was where it capped. And I'm not saying it's never funny since then, but the seasons past that are just bleh. They just don't have the same kind of
The second movie that came out,
sponge out of water, I think.
yeah, maybe. And is that the one where like there's like a thing with like a cosmic dolphin that they're
Yeah.
like there was a scene in that where like they're trying to like sneak past a guard or something and like you got to tell him like a bedtime story or something and he was like once upon a time there was a big dumb something the end or something like I think maybe it was Patrick because I think he said a big dumb starfish the end or something like that. It cracked me up. Like there's still things in it that make me laugh. I will say I agree that the prime has passed. I don't know if I'd say it passed 20 years ago. I mean well, I don't know. 20 years ago we were 10 and that show came out. Well, I was 10. You were probably what 12?
Something like that.
When did that show come out? 99?
Yeah, 99.
Okay.
It peaked in like 2003, 2004. I mean, after the third season, one of the reasons
Well,
is they got
that
a
would have
new
been
writer.
5 seasons. And I was thinking about the first 5-ish seasons were the gold era. Like
Yeah, I guess you're right, but I take it back with the year that I mentioned then because like for me after the movie it just tanked. It was just not the same show anymore. It had a different kind of feel. Like the jokes hit differently.
oh come on. You didn't like because this episode came out after the movie. You didn't like the Krabby Hotel, Krusty Krab Hotel, whatever.
No,
Where they
it's
turn-
like we will never deny a guest.
No matter the request.
Yeah, I
and
thought
they
that
walk
one
up
was-
into the room and he's got like a tray full of Krabby Patties and Patrick's like, I don't like the crust. And he's like, it's a bun. It's all crust.
Yeah.
You didn't like that?
I don't remember that specific scene, but I remember watching that episode. That was one of the few episodes that I tried after the movie and was like, this just doesn't. Maybe if those newer seasons had been an entirely separate show and I had no reference to the old SpongeBob, I might have liked them a little bit more. But because they were supposed to be a continuation of something I already loved, like it just, for one, they got a new writer. I don't know if you knew that, but
Oh, I know. Yeah, their whole team kind of was in and out and whatever. But
except for the voice actors, I think.
well,
But
yeah.
yeah, so it just did not hit the same for me. Those first 3 seasons of SpongeBob are just so funny. The second and third in particular they really hit their stride.
I was gonna say the first season I think is very over romanticized.
Well, it's because it was the first one, and everyone's like this because it was so dumb that no one expected it to do anything, and then it was like this show's actually pretty funny.
Because to me, like I'm really just gonna get grilled. The Krusty Krab pizza episode is not that great. It's not that great. It's good. It's good, but it's not show defining great.
What?
This
is worse than your Seinfeld take.
Well, I'm glad I hit a new low. To me, it's like, look, it's a classic. Again, this goes back to I don't think the first version of something could ever be the best. The first season of SpongeBob is good. Obviously, it got picked up for more, and it became what it became. It's good. It was a good foundation for the better things that came later. But that first episode where he like goes and he has to feed all the fish or whatever they were, and
anchovies.
Although I will say I love sending like just randomly to people pictures of the turbo spatula with port and starboard attachments and turbo drive.
Yeah,
I love sending that to people, and they'd be like, "Why?"
Yeah.
I don't know why that quote just like lives in my head, but I love that. It's funny. It's good. The Krusty Krab pizza, funny, classic Krusty Krab.
Okay, well, I agree with your statement about this first season as a whole and the first episode. The first episode was like it was funny, but it was like not. The funniest part in that whole first episode is when he's like that smelly smell, the kind of smelly smell that smells smelly. That's the funny part. But the Krusty Krab pizza episode is the peak episode of the first season. That whole episode that's the best episode in the whole season. It's not quite as good as some of the episodes that come later on, but that's like if I were to introduce anyone to the first season of SpongeBob, that's the episode I'd pick.
Why?
Well, you backed up. That because the whole thing is hilarious. It's like, I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. Why? It's got so many classic.
That's my point. I feel like
I can't really answer why for any of SpongeBob other than it's just hilarious. It's got.
But I'm saying you could pick out specific jokes or things like that.
Okay, well I can do that for the first crust pizza episode.
Yeah. Give me like some things you think are like the peak, like make it peak episode funny of that.
So,
season.
Whenever they're backing up, I just quoted it a second ago. He's like, "All right, you got to put it in gear, SpongeBob," and then SpongeBob just backs up, and they just takes him to a whole new different place. It's like backing up, and then they finally end it, and he goes, "Well, you backed up," and they're like in the middle of nowhere.
I don't remember that.
No, see, you don't even remember the episode, and you're criticizing it.
See, the only thing, maybe that's why I hate it so much. First of all, it was so overplayed at the time.
That is a fair point.
And the little song, Krusty Krab pizza.
Dude, that was gonna be the next thing I was gonna pick. That part's so funny.
I get so. I mean, it just. I'm like, all right.
Oh,
look,
dude.
You know what? I guess thinking more about it, there are parts of it that like aren't so ridiculously bloated in their quotations that they're funny. Like I did like the it's not just a boulder,
yeah.
It's a rock. Like that's funny.
Or what about the part where there's a storm and SpongeBob's hanging onto the pizza and he's like, "SpongeBob, let go of the pizza." And he's like, "No, it's for the customer. Who cares about the customer? I do." "Well, I don't." The whole storm stops and he just goes, "Squidward." And then the storm picks up again.
I didn't remember that either.
Okay, yeah, you got to rewatch the episode.
We're
gonna watch Seinfeld. We're gonna watch the Krusty Krab pizza episode.
We're gonna watch all the Lord of the Rings. Can you just live with me?
Yeah. Honestly, we need help with rent. Yeah. This is not a monetized podcast, if you know what I'm saying.
Could be. I don't know. I don't disagree with SpongeBob being on the list, other than it's a show, and I hate that I didn't know we were doing shows. But it's a good pick,
I purposely didn't ask you for that reason because I was like, ooh, I'm gonna sneak these in.
and you did.
I sure did. I win.
That was, for some reason, that was funnier than anything on Seinfeld. Um, I don't know. I think SpongeBob's first season gets a little over romanticized and quoted and overplayed.
I agree with that.
And I think that the prime of it lasted a little longer than certain people like to give it credit for. I think what it was is it got old for a lot of people, so they kind of stopped watching at a certain point, and so they kind of just assumed that that's when it stopped being good. And I will say, I think that the inconsistencies started popping up after that, but the highs were still really high. It's just the lows were pretty low. But to me, that's actually always been SpongeBob.
I don't agree with that only because I remember when the movie came out and everybody was saying, now I didn't have this experience with the movie, but everyone that I knew that loved SpongeBob were like, dude, the movie like completely disappointed me. It is not at all the SpongeBob I thought it was going to be. I thought it was different than the original style, but I thought it was still hilarious. After the movie, though, I did think that the show tanked.
Well, also that Sponge Out of Water movie, they brought back that original writer,
I heard that, yeah.
which is maybe why I thought it was funny. I didn't know until after I watched it, but I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, because when the SpongeBob movie came out, the first one, like as soon as it was on DVD, we went and got it and bought it and brought it home and watched it as a family, and it was hilarious. That other one, we were much older by then, and it just wasn't something we were like, oh, we got to see it. But we had some cousins that were younger, and they happened to have it. So one day while we were over there, we watched it, and I was like, this is actually funnier than I thought it'd be. And then later I found out they brought back some of the original like group who started the show, and I was like, I could see some older influences in that.
Dude, how'd you change like that? You just like, whoa.
I'm a magician.
That's true.
I'm just really bad at doing it when there's not a camera to like edit. The clear trick is just me taking the jacket off. You weren't in here. So yeah. That also helps. No live audience. Magic is super easy when no one's watching.
Have you ever seen the? Oh man, I don't want to. I wouldn't add this to the list because it wasn't funny enough for that. But have you ever seen a movie called Mystery Men with Ben Stiller? It's got Kel from Kenan and Kel in it. It's it's like a really unknown movie. It actually is based off of comics. I learned that later, but it's about these ridiculous superheroes, and Kel's character, he's like, I can turn invisible, but only when no one is looking. He actually can though. When no one's looking, he literally turns invisible. But no one believes him, and then they're like, how do you know you're invisible if no one's looking at you? He's like, well, when you're invisible, you can feel it. It's a funny movie.
That sounds like early 2000s comedy.
Yeah, it does. That's because it is. So is it my turn now?
Yeah, you're picking up on the second half of the list at number 5.
Yeah, this is where it started to get really hard. These top 5, because they're so funny. Then like these are all competing for my number 1. But I'm fine with my number 1. Number 5 is Bruce Almighty.
Very good pick.
Yeah. And that was the one I said that was on my list when you were talking about earlier about how difficult it is to be an actor. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a deleted scene in the newsroom where Steve Carell's going like, no, and he's like freaking out. There's a deleted scene where his head just goes on fire. Like fire just shoots up from. Have you ever seen that deleted?
I think I have seen that.
It's super funny. And he just goes, ah! It's so funny. And I heard him talking about this in an interview once, and he said, it was my first movie, so I'm just going to do whatever they tell me. But it scared the daylights out of me. He said they had to put this gel on his hair that would keep his head from catching fire.
Oh, my God.
And fire just shot up from behind him, and it's just hot flames. It's like 80% real. Like, he's like, oh!
Blah, blah.
That movie is, I think, what took Steve Carell to the next level. That scene in particular.
I think, and that's weird that he called that his first movie. I'd need to look up the years of release, but I remember 40-Year-Old Virgin being his first movie.
I think that came after Bruce Almighty.
Huh.
Well, and maybe he got it wrong, but I heard him. I believe I heard him say in an interview that was his first movie, or at least one of his first. He was new enough that he was not going to be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right, right. And they're probably around the same time regardless, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
But I have seen that little scene, and that is hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's a great pick, by the way. That almost stole mine.
Oh,
If anything, that was that an honorable? It should be an honorable mention. It's not on there, but it should be one. I
Yeah.
love Bruce Almighty.
yeah, that's a funny movie.
My number 5 is Night at the Museum.
Oh, okay.
So this one is definitely more of a personal pick than like a. This is just like I don't think this is like an iconic comedy movie, but for my family, kind of like Napoleon Dynamite. See, this is why I didn't put Napoleon Dynamite on there, which was because for me and my family, this was like really, really funny, and we quoted it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really feel like it hit that status, necessarily. And I didn't want to have a whole bunch of movies like that on here. So Night at the Museum was the one I picked over Napoleon Dynamite. So I'm really glad you put it on your list. But Night at the Museum was like kind of a surprise sleeper for us. I don't, or at least for me, I'm the oldest of 3 kids. So when my parents got this and brought it home for us to watch it as a family, I guess I maybe viewed it as like it was more for like little kids, even though I was probably pretty young at the time myself. And I really enjoyed it. First of all, it's just a really good movie, a really neat premise, and it has a really good like message about he's struggling to be a good father, and like even though him and his wife are separated, he's trying to get a steady job and like be there for his child, and he's afraid. There's good messages about like courage in this thing. Robin
Williams.
Robin Williams as Teddy Roosevelt in that movie is phenomenal, and Owen Wilson as a cowboy just works.
Yeah.
It just is a thing. Such a good movie though. Like, it's got a lot of heart, but it is so funny too. Mainly the 3 old guy security guards
Oh yeah.
that were there before him. And the one little old dude keeps calling him names like milkshake and like just degrading him or whatever. And Ben Stiller's great. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I have not seen a lot of Ben Stiller's big comedy movies. Never seen any of the like Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, any of that. I've maybe seen part of Zoolander, but not all of it. I've never really sat down and watched Zoolander. What's the other? I've seen Dodgeball. I like him in Dodgeball. But that to me, that's more of a Vince Vaughn movie than a Ben Stiller movie.
Yeah.
He more plays the antagonist. But
Have you seen Zoolander?
no,
Oh really?
is that a joke or you?
No, that's not a joke. That's a Ben
just
Stiller
said
movie.
that.
You did? I didn't hear you say that.
Like I said, yeah, I've never seen this. I've never seen Zoolander. Like I've seen part of it, but I've never sat down and watched it. Then I said Dodgeball, and then you're like, "Have you seen Zoolander?" I was like,
I was thinking you had said Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, and I was thinking in my head, I don't know if I've ever seen those either.
"Oh."
And then I heard you say Dodgeball, and I was like, wait, what about Zoolander? So I guess I just wasn't listening. Back to the original issue we were having,
That's fine. But no, I haven't.
It's a good thing you've seen Lord of the Rings, though. You'd have to watch a previous episode to get that joke.
Oh my gosh, are we gonna have running jokes now?
I guess so.
Awesome.
I don't mind going for a run.
Yeah.
What's a running joke where you're like, did you hear the one about the
in your blazer?
Sweat in my blazer.
But yeah, so for me, like I said, admittedly, this is not like I don't even necessarily think it should be this high up on the list, but it's a comfort movie for me. It's a fun movie. It's one that I cannot wait to watch with my son as he gets a little older. I think it'll be a fun family movie. And I just have really fond memories of it. That is interesting. Never seen
Well,
anyone do that.
I'm so glad you called attention to it because I was trying to avoid that. But I couldn't get the cap open. And I didn't want to make a loud noise on the podcast. And then so I was like, well, I guess I'll just drink it like this. That's like when you whisper to someone and be like, I forgot their name. Their name is, you know what I'm talking about? Has anyone ever done that to you? Where you like whisper something to someone because you're trying to figure something
Probably.
out and they just yell at a response?
I do it to my mom all the time on purpose. So, funny story. This isn't exactly the same thing, but it's a funny little anecdote that I'm going to throw in, even though it also has nothing to do with this topic. Ben Carson once came to the state to like give a speech at some function, and for those who don't know, he was running for president at one point some years ago. And my mom works at a dental office, and apparently there was an accident either during or right before or right after or something, this speech he was supposed to give, and he was supposed to be on TV like right after. And there was some kind of accident, and his tooth, like his front tooth, chipped and like broke off, like a piece broke off of it.
Wow.
And he doesn't live here in the state, so I mean, he doesn't have like his dental person to go to. So his people were asking like, where's a good dental office? We need to go have this like worked on right now because he's got to be on TV soon and blah blah blah. And my mom's dental office got brought up, and so that person reached out to my mom's boss who owns the office and was like, hey, can you do this emergency thing, blah blah blah. And she's like, it's on Ben Carson. She's like, yeah, I'll be there yesterday, like we're on the way. So she called everyone and told them that he was coming there. So like we were on the way to dinner. We were on the interstate on the way to go eat. We were starving. And we pulled off on that exit instead to go to her work so that she could go in, wait for him to have this emergency procedure done, and then meet him. So we're sitting, my mom's in the office. Me, my dad, my brother and sister. Sorry, apologies about my...
You gotta stop calling attention to it, man. No,
Sorry,
I'm just kidding.
I thought enough attention was calling to itself.
Yeah, I'm just messing around with you.
I'm sorry.
We're not
Her name
professionals.
is. I gotta fix it because now it's choking. There we go.
There you go.
So we're all sitting in the car waiting, and I mean it had been a while. I don't remember how long, but it wasn't quick. And eventually, I told my dad, I was like, I'm gonna go in and see what the heck's going on. So I walk in, and they've got like all their office, or most of them, up there at the front, standing. He is like just coming up the hall, like he's just finishing up. He's got like his people with him and stuff. Like it was a thing. It was kind of intimidating, and everyone was like wanting to take pictures with him and stuff. And so my mom's standing there, and she's like, hey, will you, here, take my phone. Will you take a picture of me and him? I was like, sure. So she goes and stands with him. I take their picture, and as I walk up to hand her phone back, I reach my hand out. I'm like, hey, Mr. Carson. And he goes, hey, young man, how are you? And he shakes my hand. So I'm doing good. I just want to let you know, my whole family is starving in the car right now, and we're waiting because my mom wanted to meet you. We haven't had dinner yet.
Oh my god!
My mom grabbed me by the shoulder and like threw me.
How old were you?
I don't remember. I was probably in like, what race was he
Dude,
running in?
It was 2016.
Okay, so that was 9 years ago. So I was about 20, 21.
I would have. Dang. You didn't care at all about politics.
No. No. I didn't care about anything.
Yeah.
I wanted to. We were starving. Like,
Yeah.
It was one of those things where like the whole family was in a bad mood because of how hungry we all were.
Yeah.
Like you can't even have a conversation to take your mind off it because you're just going to get in an argument kind of thing. Like that's how it was. And we stopped on the way to dinner to go do this. And it took longer than we thought.
Yeah.
So by that time,
dude, that's intense. I'm surprised you did that. Is that one of those things you cringe about?
No, I don't. I think it's.
You're like,
funny.
I'd do it again.
I would if I was back in that scenario. Look, I put it like this. I think people idolize people too much.
That's 100% true. Yeah.
I don't care if it's a politician. I don't care if it's a celebrity. I think people idolize people too much, and then those same people act like those people are the weird ones because they're so secretive and hide away. Like, yeah, I would too if when I went to go have a dental procedure done, the lady calls everyone and tells them, and her whole office shows up on their day off.
Yeah.
To like wait in the thing for me to get my tooth fixed. Like, yeah, I'd hide away from you weirdos too. So I wanted them to have one normal experience where someone with some common sense is like, hey, she's starving her whole family right now to be here.
What did he say?
He laughed. To his credit, I mean, he kind of chuckled. He didn't really say anything, and if he wanted to, I didn't get. My mom literally grabbed me, and pulled me away after. Like, she was not happy about that.
That's funny.
But I mean, to me, I was just like, look, dude. I mean, I get it. It's neat. That'll be a story one day. It's neat to say that it happened, but I mean, I don't know. I thought it was a little bit overkill to.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I have never been the kind of person that's like, I'm going to get my picture taken with him. Like, I've seen celebrities out before, but I'm just like, if it's someone that I really, like, admire their work or something and I have the opportunity, I'll go up and tell them, like, dude, I'm a big fan. Like, I don't think I've had that opportunity yet, but I would go up and say, hey, I'm a big fan. Your work has really inspired me, stuff like that. But I guess I might take a picture. But at the end of the day, I'm like, why do I really want a picture with this person?
Right.
It's just so that I can tell people that I met this person.
Right.
Why does that even matter?
So to that point, there was one time, this was back, gosh, this is actually probably around the same time, around 2016 or so. No, it was probably before that. A rapper I listened to put out an album that I like fell in love with, and he was touring it, and he happened to be coming to Columbia, which a lot of, I mean, you've grown up around here. A lot of bigger artists they just don't come here.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's not a great place to perform. I mean, there's the Coliseum and stuff, but I was like shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, he's coming to Columbia. Well, for a Christmas present, my parents bought me 3 tickets for me and 2 of my friends to go see the show. So we drove up there that night. He was playing at the Tin Roof, the old Tin Roof. And he had even the opening act he had with him on that tour was someone we were big fans of. Well, we got there and the line was through the building, front door, all the way up. I don't know if you've ever been to the old Tin Roof, like know where it is, but
no.
It went all the way up and around its property, then up the sidewalk, all the way up the street, around the corner, and up the next street where there was like an IHOP.
Wow.
And we were waiting in that line. I mean, we waited in that line for probably 2 hours. We got there in plenty of time to see the whole show. By the time we were getting close to the building, the opening act had already gone on. It's a rapper named Dizzy Wright. And we were like, dang, we're missing it. Like, what the heck? And it had been raining. Like, we're in line. It's raining. We were ticked. Well, it just so happened that as we kind of approached what I now know is like the back side of the building, like we were getting close to rounding the corner to go in, Dizzy was coming off stage with like his people, and they had to walk through this like gate, and then his bus was right here. Like we were right here beside it. So when he walked through, my buddy was filming, and I didn't have my phone out because I'm kind of like you. Like I'm more like in the moment. Like I don't need a video or picture. I want to experience this. So when he walked through, my first reaction was I was like, yo, Dizzy, what's up, man? And he fist bumped me, which I thought was really cool. And my friend happened to get it on camera. Like I wasn't wanting it filmed, but he got it on camera. So I did want that just because it happened and he caught it. But like,
and that's also for you.
Right.
Like you can relive that moment and watch it.
But like we've run into, I'm a huge Gamecock football fan, and out here in like the city and stuff, sometimes you bump into players. I ran into Spencer Rattler in Irmo at BJ's one night.
Oh, that's cool.
And him and his girlfriend were leaving, and as they walked through the restaurant, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Spencer Rattler. I got up and ran because I wanted to say hey to him. I wanted to tell him like I appreciated him coming here. I love what he did last season, blah, blah, blah. So I dapped him up outside the restaurant and like talked to him for a second. And I was like, look, I'm not going to bother.
Is that how you got that black eye?
Yeah.
Oh.
His girlfriend,
that's where that came from.
His girlfriend hit me.
She got a crazy right hook, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you. No, but
she's like, you can't have him. Boom.
I told her, I was like, I'm not gonna bother you for a picture or anything. I just want to say, I love what you did. I'm excited for the next season. Blah blah blah. And I let it be. He's in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
He just broke a team record for a rookie quarterback on the team. He is an official celebrity now. I got to meet him, and that's cool for me. I don't have a picture of it, but I don't need it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that is cool.
Little tangent, but I thought it was an interesting little story because
I love tangerines. They're my favorite fruit.
Really? I don't believe you.
That's an old Frank Caliendo bit.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
He has my favorite bits. I don't even know who that is.
We're gonna have to roll through these last ones because we're running short on time.
I thought we were running long on it, and that's why you wanted to.
That was a bit I did not appreciate. Wait, is it my turn? I think it's your turn now because I did number 5.
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna do 4 and 3, and then I'll do 3 and 2.
Well, I did 5, and then I'll do 4, and then.
Oh right, okay.
So my number 4 is Tag.
I've never seen that. I've heard about it.
Tag is really, really funny to me, not only because the cast, I love that cast. They had really good chemistry. They really felt like real friends. But also the fact that is legitimately based on a true story is crazy funny to me. Like, that is something, as soon as I watched the movie, I walked out and was like, I want to do that. Who in my friend group wants to do that with me? Because I want to do that. That is awesome.
I don't know anything of what it's about. I've just
really,
I've just seen it in passing.
So the base premise is it's this group of friends. They're all in like their 30s, 40s, whatever. They're grown up, but they have been playing the same game of tag since they were like 7 or 8.
Oh wow!
And now that they're older, it's not like a all the time thing. But in the month of May, the game is back on, and for the whole month of May, you're fair game. Like, they all live in different cities, states, whatever, but they will, like, randomly show up. They wear disguises and stuff, and they'll tag you. Well, now, that's real. Like, a real friend group, and
that's so
at the
cool.
end of the movie, they show a picture, and it's a huge friend group that plays.
That's awesome.
Now, in the movie, this is more like, I think, Hollywood it up to make it a movie. In the movie, one character, he's played by Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye, has never been tagged. All the years they've been playing.
Don't spoil anything.
He's never been tagged.
This sounds awesome.
And so the whole premise is that Ed Helms' character is kind of gathering everyone up because the game's about to be back on, and he's like, this is our last chance to tag him because he says he's not playing anymore after this year. And they're like, what? Get out of here. You're like, I'm telling you. He said this is his last year playing. So hijinks ensue. So they kind of get the gang back together and go try and tag the friend who's never been tagged. And it has a great soundtrack, great cast. Hannibal Buress. Oh my gosh, what's his name? That the have you ever seen New Girl?
Yeah. Zooey Deschanel?
No. The guy Nick, the guy who plays Nick.
Oh, I saw one episode of New Girl.
Jake something. Oh my gosh.
Paul?
That's not it. I forget his name, but I hate that. He's so funny. He voices one of the Peter Parkers in the Into the Spider-Verse. I love him. He's so good. But anyway, he's in it. A lot of people in it. It's a really good cast. Great soundtrack, great story.
I'm gonna have to watch that. That sounds awesome.
It's very good. I would love to watch that one with you. Like, on a day where we're doing that thing, we said we want to start a segment where, like, I show you a movie, you show me a movie.
Oh yeah.
I'd love for that to be one that I bring and show you.
I'm down.
So that's my number 4.
Okay. So now is it my turn?
So you'll do 4 and then 3.
Okay, gotcha. My number 4, The Emperor's New Groove.
Okay. That's really good. I was racking my brain. I was like, I gotta put unanimated film in here. I could not think of one that I was like, I think this is a top 10 movie.
Emperor's New Groove.
But Emperor's New Groove is a good pick.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those era of Disney movies would be good picks. That might be the funniest.
Yeah, I was about to say not necessarily as comedies though, because most animated Disney movies are like family friendly. Like, they got funny stuff in them.
Yeah. But
they're more like lighthearted. Emperor's New Groove is a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
And it is so funny. It's a little bit heartwarming. There's a good moral message, but it's like 90% comedy.
Yeah.
Like, that everything in that movie is hilarious. Reason number 2. Look what I can do. What does that have to? No. He's got a point.
He's got a point.
That whole movie.
It's all coming together.
Yeah. My brother and I, growing up, quoted that movie all the time. We still do. It's so funny. It's got so many. I heard David Spade say one time that was the only movie that he ever did that critics ever liked. They hated all of his other movies.
Wow.
Which I think the critics are wrong 90% of the time. Anyway.
Yeah, critics are kind of stupid.
Yeah, but that's wild to me because
I agree.
I would think that his movies, like, they would like a lot, but yeah, critics are. I mean, The Emperor's New Groove, fantastic, hilarious movie.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I wish I could have thought. I have at least one animated one on my honorable mentions.
Okay.
But I just couldn't find a spot for one. I couldn't think of a good enough. That is a great. Mine, just a little tidbit that I was leaning towards was Aladdin because of Robin Williams being the.
Yeah, I could see that, but see, that wouldn't have made it from my criteria because, again, comedy is the selling point of the movie,
Yeah, and that's
it's the main theme.
That's
you know,
exactly. I was like, I just don't view Aladdin as very funny. I mean, it's got funny parts, but so that's exactly why I did. Emperor's New Groove. That you did what I was trying to do, which was find one that was kind of more purely funny, most like as the priority.
Yeah, that movie's hilarious.
All right, so
that might be the only animated movie I can think of that's like almost 100% comedy. Maybe Lego Movie, actually. That might be.
Yeah, and I've never seen that, but I've heard it is phenomenal.
I wouldn't go that far. It was funny.
People loved it.
Yeah, I think people liked it a lot more than I did, but
that's fair. I need to see it, but yeah, that'd be interesting. Like, maybe that's why I struggled so much with it. I could not think of one that was like straight up comedy, but
yeah.
All right, we're cranking into your top 3.
Yes, we are. Oh yeah, I'm doing 3, and then you do 3,
and then I'll do 3.
All right. I'm so excited for these last 3 right here. Number 3 is Ace Ventura 2: When Nature Calls.
Okay.
That one is actually funnier than the first one. It's one of those few where the sequels are better.
Okay.
That movie in high school, I overquoted the mess out of that thing. This is, by the way, you've probably already guessed it by now, but Jim Carrey is the actor who I have multiple movies of. And
I knew.
He's my favorite comedian.
I was going to guess it at the beginning, but I was like, I'm not going to ruin it.
Yeah. I knew you knew it.
And he's the reason that I had that rule, by the way.
Well, he's the king of comedy.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
he's in a lot of my honorable mentions too.
Yeah. That's a really good pick. Those are great.
The projector scene is the funniest scene in that movie.
Oh my.
Where he's making he's my favorite part is when you see him doing it and the camera
silver away.
My favorite part is when you see him, the shadow, and then it switches to his face, and the face that he's making is so funny. That guy is he's the funniest man to ever walk this earth.
He's up there.
I mean, that was an exaggeration, but he is super funny.
He's probably top 3.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if we're talking all around. Like, he proved he could do stand up. He proved he could do live sketch comedy on In Living Color.
Mm-hmm.
He proved he can do movies. I mean, he's got the physical comedy down. He's got impressions. He's got, he can write jokes. I mean, he's kind of the whole package. I mean,
he really
is up there. I mean, you'd be hard pressed. I think you could maybe argue some others, but you'd be hard pressed to really officially say this person's funnier.
Yeah,
he's up there. So my top 3, whatever, number 3 is The Hangover.
Oh boy.
So here's the thing about The Hangover. This one was one that I kind of felt more like obligated to put on because, first of all, I do think it's funny. I wouldn't have put a movie on here I don't think it's funny. But the reason that I put it on here is because it kind of like took the world by storm when it came out. I think comedies at the time, which it's hard for me to remember because I was in like middle school when this came out. I didn't see this movie until years after its peak had been gone. Because I've told you before on this show, I think, we didn't watch a lot of movies, period, anyway, in my house, much less rated R like comedy. That wasn't something my parents did. So, I was much older by the time I saw this. I enjoyed it. I think there's tons of funny things in it. And it's got a lot of classic bits that still get riffed on today. Like, I mean, it's, it stood the test of time at this point.
I hate that movie.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
And you hate it?
Yeah.
Like you actually, I'm not saying I could see where it's not up your alley, but you actively hate it.
Yeah, there's funny parts in it. The one part where I actually really laughed super hard was when the guy took Zach Galifianakis' bag and he's like, "Hey, there's Skittles in there." That's the only part where I really laughed really hard. Other than that, that movie is so filthy.
It is.
So just it's too much for me. It overshadows any of the other funny parts because there's so much just gross stuff in it that I can't deal with it.
I just think Zach Galifianakis is hilarious.
He is. Have you ever seen Due Date?
Yes.
Yeah. I bet that's on your list.
It's
No. Oh, okay. That movie that has one really gross scene. Other than that, that movie had Claire and I like in stitches.
that I don't remember that one as well, to be honest. I know I liked him. I'll tell you one I didn't remember or think about. It wouldn't have made the list, but The Campaign with him and Will Ferrell, like both running for mayor or something or president.
I've never even heard of it.
Really?
Yeah.
That one was pretty funny too. But anyway, he's hilarious to me. Every line just about that he speaks in The Hangover is what makes that movie funny. I do like Bradley Cooper, but I like him because he kind of plays the straight man in that movie. He's not really there for like to be funny. He's kind of there to like level out how insane Zach Galifianakis is being
Yeah,
in that
that's
movie.
true.
And it worked. To me, it works well. And I thought it was a pretty interesting premise. You go to Vegas for this bachelor trip and you lose the groom. Like they literally lose him. I mean, for the two of you who are A, watching this, and B, have never seen The Hangover, that's the premise. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I like the premise.
I totally agree with what you're saying, by the way. It is filthy. Like, I mean, all the letters.
Did you just have a seizure?
10 times. Like, the longest version of that word. It is horrific.
Yeah.
But I guess for that kind of stuff, like I said earlier, like Dungeon Crawler Carl, like sometimes I can overlook if the good parts of it are good enough. Sometimes I can overlook things like that. Sometimes it just I just can't. I can't push through it. But
that's where I was with it. It's too much. There were funny parts, but it was overshadowed by like I can't believe like they would put this in the movie. Like my mind was thinking about that stuff when it was going on. It was just I just didn't like it.
That's fair. And like I said, me having that high up on the list is really more feeling obligatory rather than like it's in my top 3.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of struggled with some of this. Like I said at the beginning, like I tried to give myself some criteria, but I think that almost pigeonholed me a bit. But that's all right. Live and learn. As we continue
or just
to
live.
Do these. Yeah. Well, that's how I have for 30 years, and it hasn't helped. I'm going to try and start living and learning. But, as we do more of these, I'll probably get a little more comfortable with just being like, look, this is my opinion. If you don't like it, please don't tell me. So my number 2 is Home Alone.
Oh, dude. I didn't even think of those. Wait, so do you like the first one better than the second one?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Honestly, you pick. I don't care. They're both Home Alone 1 and 2. First of all, to me, they're like one big movie. If I watch one, I'm watching both.
Yeah.
Second of all, they're basically the same thing. Some people are like, no, the first one's so much better because it's just this, or some people are like, the second one's so much better because of this. They're the same thing. Look, I'm sorry. I love them. It's number 2 on my list, and that one is because I want it that high. It is a top 3 comedy for me.
Yeah.
But they're the same. I love them equally. I have no preference. Those are hilarious movies. To this day, I laugh at least like once somewhere watching those movies, and I know what's coming.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it catches me off guard anymore. I know these movies. Still laugh. The performances of Joe Pesci and the other guy. They took those movies from like what was a really good premise and could have been like a cute Christmas movie into iconic status.
Yeah.
Like they elevated those movies so much. They're fantastic. I love them both. 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are in my top 2 spot. So
okay, that's fair.
I
feel that totally. Like I'm not gonna say that 2 was so much better because they were both really good.
Right.
I just thought 2 was funnier because it felt to me like they just elevated it to the next level, and it felt like they were more comfortable in the characters because they've played them once already. It just like it all just shined.
I think
in
that's
the second
fair.
one.
I mean, first of all, Macaulay was a little older, so that probably helped to, a kid being the lead. That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did it well in both, but I think it felt a little more refined in the second one.
Yeah.
I mean, not so much so to where it's like, wow, that blew the first one out of the water. But like you said, it just felt more comfortable, more fluid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So both of those are kind of like
those are really good ones.
Neck and neck.
All right, so now I'm doing number 2 and number 1,
And
right?
you're number 1.
Okay. You're gonna be surprised by number 2. This is another really niche one. I guarantee you, pretty much nobody. Okay.
Go, Daniel.
We just lost all of our 2 listeners.
No, come back.
But I'm pretty sure nobody else has heard of this film. It's free on YouTube. It's called Hottie Boom Baladi. This is like Napoleon Dynamite, but funnier in my. Some people think Napoleon Dynamite's funnier. I say some people because I've showed it to a few people. It's totally free on YouTube, the whole thing. You can just look it up and watch it. It is so funny. My brother-in-law and his wife brought it over to watch it for a family night one night at my in-laws. And they were like, yeah, this is just some random film that we, I don't remember how they even heard of it, but I was like, what is this hidden gem? I was like crying. I was laughing so hard. It's a lot like Napoleon Dynamite. So if you like Napoleon Dynamite, you'll probably like it. But
Okay.
it's super awkward. And dude, oh man, I want you to see it.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Partly because it caught me off guard so much.
Okay,
like,
that's fair.
It is super, super funny. But
okay.
And it's a totally free movie on YouTube. It's an independent film. It didn't hardly get any recognition. They just put it up on YouTube. The whole thing's free. But
oh my goodness.
I just got really excited. I was like, you gotta watch this movie.
All right.
That's all I'll say about it because I don't want to spoil it.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, I think you'll like it.
Without further ado,
all right.
I gotta hear. I have a feeling What's your number 1?
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to do number 2 and number 1. I think you can. Do you think you can guess what it is?
I feel like I can guess who's in it.
Who?
Jim Carrey.
Okay, yeah, that's obvious.
If I had to guess what movie, you've already done Ace Ventura 2, and you said you think it's funnier than the first one, so I don't think you rank the first one higher. You also did Bruce Almighty, so I'm gonna go with The Mask.
Oh no, that's an honorary mention. The number 1 is Dumb and Dumber.
Ah, okay.
Classic. That is peak Jim Carrey in my opinion. That is a classic comedy. Super funny. Yeah. I never don't laugh when I watch that movie.
That one is. I love that one. I love the Dumb and Dumber 2. Not like the one with the kids, but the one where they're like older.
I didn't like that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
That one was also way filthier too. It was like super filthy.
Really?
And the characters just felt out of whack. It didn't click. It didn't jive.
I'd have to rewatch that. I don't remember it being that. It wasn't like rated R or anything, was it?
I don't know if it was rated R.
Not that I'm saying a movie can't.
It should have been if it wasn't, because there's some scenes in there that's just like, oh gosh.
I just remember. I just remember them like annoying the crap out of people in that movie, and like the parents of their classmate or whatever who died.
Oh yeah.
They're like banging on the doorbell at like midnight.
Yeah. That part was funny. He's like, you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? Ding, 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 ding. That is pretty annoying. No, not that. It's 12 o'clock. That.
And then he said, and I made him a fair trade. My bike for his helmet, straight up. Like,
yeah.
And he died.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. There are funny parts in that movie, but it does not hold a candle to the first one.
I need to probably rewatch both, but the second one, because I don't remember it being that filthy, but the first one, because I actually have seen the sequel more than I've seen the first one.
Oh, that's a shame.
I like the first. I've seen it, and I like it. I definitely think it deserves a spot on the list. I don't know if it'd be my number 1. Even if we were strictly doing Jim Carrey movies, I don't think it'd be my number 1.
Man. That's crazy to me. Yeah, I love it. You know what's actually ironic? Dumb and Dumber with the different actors.
Yeah.
I actually liked that more than
That
Dumb
one
and
is
Dumber
also
2.
really good, I think.
Yeah, it's funny.
Especially for them not being Jim and
Yeah.
Jeff. They really kind of killed it.
I'm kicking myself that I didn't think about this. Even Stevens is dude, Shia LaBeouf should do comedy forever.
I'm actually not mad that you forgot that because, first of all, you have enough shows on
That's
there.
true.
And second of all, even Stevens was okay. It was funny. I don't think it was top 10 funny. You think even Stevens is funnier?
Shia LaBeouf in that show, yes.
I can definitely think of 10 shows funnier than even Stevens.
Oh, I don't know, man.
I
Shia
can
LaBeouf in that
definitely-
show is so funny. Anyways, we gotta stop arguing because you gotta get to your last 2 and 1.
No, I already did 2.
Oh.
Hold on.
Oh yeah. You got. That's right. Okay.
You want to try and guess mine since I tried to guess yours?
I have no clue. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Your taste sometimes shocks me.
Well, this one probably won't, but I think it will cause a little bit of a back and forth because I almost disagreed with you, but I was like, oh, I need to shut up.
Oh boy. All right. Is it Even Stevens?
Yeah. I gotcha. No. Ace Ventura 1.
Oh, that's a great one. You like it more than the second one?
I was gonna say when you brought up how the second was just way better than the first one, I almost like the first one is
I don't think I said it like that.
You did use. I mean, well, I don't know if that's verbatim, but your implication was that the second one it was noticeably better. Like,
yeah,
I remember how you worded it.
Don't get me wrong. The first one is hilarious. I love the first one.
I know. Trust me, it's Jim Carrey. I know you love the first one. I'm just saying. To me, I think that first of all, it'd be hard to find a funnier movie than either of them. Like, I wouldn't be mad if those were both our number ones because they're again, he's kind of just got it all.
Yeah.
First of all, second of all, it's a mystery.
That is fair. Well, the second one's a mystery.
No, I know. I'm saying like those that plays to my mystery thing.
Yeah.
He's hilarious. I mean, that's an iconic role. The look, the way he walks. And, so the reason I put the first one and not the second one is because I think the second one has a little bit of a lull to me. And the lull is that part when he's like in the tribes or whatever, like trying to do his like digging up stuff in the tribes. It's funny. These movies are great. I'm not saying they're not.
No.
Oh, there we go. You just saw through our facade.
They're onto us.
We're frauds.
Well, they knew that.
Like
just do this a little bit to make sure we're good. All right.
Like I do like the part where they keep calling him the White Devil, and then he gets like beat up, and when he stands up, his hair looks like a horse.
This White Devil thing has gone far enough.
That's funny.
Yeah.
There are funny things throughout both movies, but for me, I think just all around the story and the pacing of the first one is just a little bit more fluid for me.
I will give you that.
I like the mystery of the first one better than the mystery of the second one, and since other than that they're kind of neck and neck, I give the edge to the first. Just like you're saying, like you love them both, but you kind of give the edge to the second one because of
the comedy.
Kind of like they ramped up the things that worked from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I give the edge to the first one just because, even though I think some of the funnier parts in the second one are probably funnier than the first one.
Yeah.
But I think the story is a little stronger in the first one than the second.
I completely agree with that. But like for the sake of the comedy list, like
that's fair.
The funniest one to me was the second one. But I totally agree. I think the first one, the storyline was a lot more well polished.
And the thing of it was, and now that we're talking about it, of course, and you brought up some things, at the time I was making this, I could remember clearly and like quote a lot more of the first one than the second one. But then now that you're bringing it up, I forgot that like the second one has one of my favorite things ever, which is where the old man and the lady come down and she's wearing the fox and he gets pissed, and he knocks the old man out and puts him over his shoulder. Like, oh, like, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. And she like faints.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
Yeah, so because he sets that up by saying, "You must be the Monopoly guy."
But like the first one too, classic. The him going to the fancy party with the girl, and
Yeah.
when he gets attacked by the shark, he comes out of the bathroom and his
Yeah.
clothes are destroyed and he's soaking wet. Everyone just stops and he's like, "Whoa, do not!" It's so stupid. I love it. Like it's classic. Like,
It is so classic.
those honestly, I mean, not that I have an issue with your one or two. I do have an issue with my three, and I'm going to talk about it when we do honorable mentions. But I honestly think probably Ace Ventura 1 and 2 should have been both our number ones.
Maybe, yeah.
But you had a Jim Carrey at your number one at least.
Yeah, I still put Dumb and Dumber above Ace Ventura 2. I mean, it's a tough one, but
especially because in Ace Ventura he is the movie. Like he's the title character and he carries the movie. Dumb and Dumber, I mean, literally in the title, like there's two of it. Like he's kind of co-starring, and to me, I just think he carries the weight of the movie so much better by himself in the Ace Ventura movie.
I'll give you that.
Him and Jeff Dunham are a good pair.
Jeff Daniels. Jeff Dunham's the puppet guy.
The puppet guy, yeah. Yeah, Daniels. They're a good pair. They work well together. But I just him as the leading man. You just can't beat that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. It's a tough mix. I mean, it's hard to pick between those two. But Dumb and Dumber just is such a classic. We got to blow through our honorable mentions because we're kind of over time. But
I'll just let you do all yours, and I'll do all mine.
All right, mine is Stranger Things. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, I hate that movie.
Okay,
mostly because I can't understand any of it.
That's fair. It's in French. Okay, Stranger Than Fiction. The reason it's an honorable mention. You've never seen it?
Never heard of it.
Dude, you would love that movie. It's Will Ferrell. He's actually a character in a fiction novel, and the author is writing about him, and he starts hearing the narrator's voice, so he tries to find the author who's writing his story. It's a really, I can't believe you haven't heard of it.
Wow.
It's a hidden gem. It's a fantastic movie.
We need to.
But it's only 50.
We need to start making lists of ones that we're like, oh, you haven't seen that?
That's
true. So we
true.
can do our thing. Anyway,
that's true.
All right, go ahead.
It's a dramedy. So that's one of the reasons I picked it.
Okay.
It's like, and it's good in all levels. It's a super unique idea and never seen anything like it. Obviously, Sing Street. I put Liar Liar. That was a tough one not to put on there.
Yeah, that's tough. But that one is a little more of a drama. That one has a little bit more of a lesson to it than
that is true. The Fall Guy, which is a newer movie with Ryan Gosling.
I've heard you told me.
I told you about it.
It's a really good movie. I haven't seen that.
It's really funny.
Okay,
you should check it out. Dan in Real Life with Steve Carell. Dude, man, especially if you love Steve Carell, you would love that movie.
Okay,
it's a romantic comedy.
Okay,
it's
one of
super
his
good.
romantic comedies I almost put on mine was Crazy Stupid Love with him and Ryan Gosling.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Mr. Bean's Holiday.
I've never seen any of the Mr. Bean thing. Just doesn't look good to me. Like
I feel that.
Maybe if it looks like it's more geared towards like a younger, not like little kids, but like maybe middle school age.
Sure, yeah.
And I never got on it at that point. So for me, like now, it just does not appeal to me.
I totally get that.
So what kept you from putting it on your?
Well, I didn't think of it until you were talking. I wrote it down as we were doing the podcast, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't remember what you said that reminded me of it. But specifically, Mr. Bean's Holiday. The older ones are okay, but Mr. Bean's Holiday is really funny.
Okay.
Spinal Tap.
Oh,
when you said this goes to 11, I was like, dude, that's still just an honorary mention, though. I wouldn't have put that on the list.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the Peter Sellers Pink Panther, the old Pink Panthers.
Oh, okay.
Those are really funny.
I've only seen the ones with Steve Martin.
Yeah, those don't hold a candle to the older ones.
Fair enough.
They're not bad, but the Peter Sellers ones are super fun.
Be another interesting episode. Watch the old and the new ones, compare, contrast, what we like, what we didn't.
That's right.
So my honorable mentions, one of them, Why Him? Movie came out, I don't know, probably, 5 or so years ago. I don't know. It's fairly new, but it's James Franco, Bryan Cranston. There's a few notable people in it, and I'm forgetting some of them. Keegan-Michael Key. And anyway, bottom line, the premise is, girl goes off to college. She's comes from like pretty normal, chill, like suburban family. Dad is movie opens, he's like turning 50. It's like all emotional, and he finds out that she's got a boyfriend that he doesn't know about, and they fly out for Christmas. It's kind of a Christmas movie too, which is why I didn't put it on because I already had Home Alone, which is way more iconic. Um, to go see her for Christmas and meet the boyfriend, and it turns out the boyfriend is a like mega rich, like a multi millionaire, and B like super wild. Like he, thus the title, Why Him? The dad does not like him for most of the movie. He's like, crazy out there curses, and he's like,
Yeah.
why? Very funny. Very, very funny.
Sounds funny.
Kicking and Screaming.
Oh, great one. Funny
That
movie.
was another one that my family and I just like tore up. It's kind of an honorable mention from Anchorman 2. Of the two, I picked Anchorman 2 as a Will Ferrell led movie. It's just stronger for me. Like it's lasted longer. Like Kicking and Screaming is still a classic for me, but you know, of course I have to put The Nice Guys in everything I can ever put.
I knew that was going to be an honorable mention.
I didn't think it worked as a straight up comedy enough for this list, but it is hilarious. This one I didn't put on the list because I know it's not a great movie, but I love it, and that is Space Jam.
The original Space Jam? Okay.
There is no other one.
Okay. My heart almost sank.
We don't talk about the other one.
Yeah, I love Space Jam.
Yeah, Space Jam's a classic. Looney Tunes, love the freaking. I grew up on Looney Tunes. I love Looney Tunes. So I love Space Jam. These are not like some of my favorites because any kind of tension tends to make me lose it a bit. And even though these are spoofs, there's still that tension in them, and it's hard for me to watch sometimes. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring up that they kind of changed the comedy movie genre as a whole, which is the Wayans Brothers scary movie franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Those were kind of revolutionary because I mean, spoof movies were a thing before then, but like they like launched it into, there was one about everything after those came out. And I'm specifically talking about the first three where the Wayans brothers were involved. By the way, don't know if you know this, after there was like a bunch of creative, like behind the scenes, like things that kind of had them part ways with that. So like four and five, they had nothing to do with, which is why they're so vastly different and kind of hated by most people.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They broke off and did Haunted House 1 and 2, which are pretty funny. I enjoy them. And now I guess some stuff's happened. They've taken back over, and they're about to do Scary Movie 6.
Oh,
and they're back in charge of it.
Interesting.
So
right.
I'm actually kind of. I'll see. I don't. That's one I don't know if I can watch in a theater because it'd be hard. But I will. I would be interested to see them taking. There's going to be so many good fourth wall break jokes about them taking it back over.
Definitely.
Airplane. I think I already mentioned.
Yeah.
The Mask. I had to go Ace Ventura over The Mask, but I love The Mask.
I forgot to write mine down, but that actually was one of mine too.
That's just a classic. I love it. I had Get Smart in here, so I chose it over 40-Year-Old Virgin, and kind of back to the whole Hangover thing. Like if I'm picking, like there was no other movie with Zach in it that I was like, this is a better movie for me. So The Hangover won it, but like Steve Carell. I personally enjoy Get Smart more than 40-Year-Old Virgin because 40-Year-Old Virgin has like all the filth and stuff in it.
Yeah.
It is funny. It's got a lot of funny moments in it. But if I had to pick, like if there's one I know I can keep going back to and just enjoying without, cringing at everything, I pick Get Smart. But it is an honorable mention. 21 Jump Street.
Oh yeah.
Almost made the list. That I couldn't quite find one to take off. I was thinking about taking Night at the Museum off, but it was so nostalgic for me. 21 Jump Street is phenomenal. Phenomenal movie. Friday, really, really good quotable movie.
Dude, you got a lot of honorable mentions.
Well, the thing of it was, a couple of these were on the list. Why Him?
Yeah.
Friday, The Nice Guys, 40-Year-Old Virgin, and The Mask, and Airplane were all on the list. and then I took them off to either replace them for just other movies as a whole or other ones with that leading actor that I was like, oh wait, I like this one better. But I still think they were good. That's why they were originally going to be on it. But Friday didn't make it because really the funniest part of that is Smokey, played by Chris Tucker. And I was like, if I'm going to pick a Chris Tucker movie, I'm either going to pick Rush Hour, but I didn't want to pick that because I didn't know which of the three I'd want to pick. Or there's a movie, Money something, and it's him and Charlie Sheen. That's probably my favorite Chris Tucker movie. But
All right.
and then lastly, and this one didn't make the list because I didn't think about it until we were talking on the show, and you brought up that movie with Bill Murray in it. But Ghostbusters for sure should have been on my list.
Never seen Ghostbusters. I know.
Yep, that's going on the list.
I've never seen it, and I keep telling myself I need to see it because people quote it all the time.
Well,
and I love Bill Murray.
Don't watch it because now this is going to be one of the ones.
Oh, okay, all right.
But yeah, so that's my honorable mentions. Like you said, I pretty much had a whole other top 10 list there, but they just weren't quite strong enough. I thought they bared mentioning for various reasons, but yeah. All in all, I think those were both pretty solid lists.
Yeah,
some pretty interesting things that got brought up in the middle there.
This was really fun.
Yeah,
I like this format.
I would like to definitely do more of these.
Yeah.
I know we got to do one about TV shows.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't even have to. I mean, that's the cool thing about this. We don't have to just do funny. Like we could do top 10 anything.
That's right, and it'll still be hilarious.
Well, yeah. I mean,
because we're hilarious.
Yeah. I've met me. Yeah, but I agree. That was very enjoyable. Good conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for spending your time with us again. I tell you every week or couple weeks or however often we do these, we continue to try and make this better, more streamlined, more enjoyable to listen to. Daniel's put a lot of work in with getting the little site up where you can access us at all the different places the show is on. And we're trying to, workshop ways to make the YouTube a little more YouTube friendly, and maybe these long form version episodes more podcast centric. So we might be doing in the near future just some more YouTube based content. We're talking about movie review stuff, or maybe these like flip flop, you haven't seen this, I haven't seen this, like immediate movie reaction type things. So we're working on different things to kind of split it up, but we hope you guys are enjoying it. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share it around if you find it interesting, and
let us know if you disagree with our top 10.
Yeah.
Or if you have other ones that we might have forgotten.
Yeah. What are some like just absolute in your face classic comedies that we didn't put on here?
And by the way, this is a relatively new feature, but if you're listening on Spotify, you can comment on the podcast on Spotify.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, it's a relatively new. I think it's been around for like a year now. So comment on Spotify, and we'll try to get back to you.
That would be really cool. I have to look into that.
I don't think Apple does that yet, but yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, cool.
Thanks for listening.
Next time. Thank you guys.
Merry Christmas. I mean,
Happy New Year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Is this our? No, we already did an episode. Happy Old Year.
That's
Current
right.
year.
All right, we're gonna stop it
there. Bye.
See ya.